And at the rate we're going, we might not get to it again today. So that puts it.
Sure.
So I'm just.
Geez, that's a bit negative.
So I'm just like, well, based on current evidence. So I'm just asking if we can bring it up to the front.
Gee, that's not giving us a real good rap.
Are you suggesting that because you've got a personal interest that you want your business to be stood in front of everybody else's?
No,
No, sorry, point of order. Sorry, Councillor, no.
Community have, they came to the last meeting, they are desperate to have their bank of bins established, and this motion is preventing it from being fixed, and it's on here, so we hopefully will discuss it. I'm just asking if we can move it up.
We did that last month.
So question, how can...
Luke had his hand up. Sorry, Councillor Williamson had his hand up first.
Look, I'm just confused, and perhaps Mr. Mayor, the CEO, can provide some clarity. I understood the facility had been repaired, and council has announced in a press release to the community that it won't be reopened until public health safety issues have been addressed.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there were two incidents. One was an initial damage to the roller doors, and they were reinstated fairly quickly.
The repair.
Yep. So that was the repair that was done. There was a second incident that caused more substantial damage, which is subject to insurance assessment. And we do have quotes for those works to be undertaken.
Right.
But as Councillor Higgins said, this notice of motion is preventing us from enacting those more substantial repairs through the insurer until there's a decision on this.
Okay, thank you.
The question, two questions then. Councillor Williamson's helped assist, but why was that information not then put into the motion? Because we could have dealt with this in Bombala if this was actually an issue. Why isn't that information being provided to us until now?
I have no response to that, Mr. Mayor. I can't answer that question.
Second question.
That was going to be the second question.
Oh, okay.
First question was, anyway.
Yeah, Councillor Oates.
Mr. Mayor, it might be helpful just to, that's a surprise to me, and then I think about the Nicolago bids, of course, but I am surprised that a notice of motion can derail a process. So that's unusual, but is that normal practice?
Through you, Mr. It depends on the wording of the motion. So the motion is that we don't do anything until the matter's resolved.
All right. So we've got a information up there, so we just vote on that.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor.
Second.
I'll second.
I didn't think we had to have a second on the second motion.
Yeah.
It was procedural. We don't need a seconder. So this is only just to move it forward to at the beginning of the 8.1. So all those in favour.
Sure.
Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to 6. He's not here yet. Councillor Thaler.
No, so
Moving on to
procedurally,
6.1.
Can we consider that?
Yeah, we'll do that. 6.1.1. Resolution action sheet update. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hopkins, second to Councillor Davis. Councillor Hopkins, would you like to talk?
Look, no, I'd actually like to slightly change the wording that we know the resolution action sheet updates and ensure unresolved actions are
Sorry,
included.
excuse me. Shouldn't the person who proposed the motion move the motion?
Isn't that me?
Sorry, we're on 6.1.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, continue, Councillor.
And ensure unresolved actions are included in the delivery plan and operational plan, delivery program and operation plan for 2025 onwards. Are you happy with that? Oh, sorry.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Davis?
Oh, fine with that, yeah.
Councillor Hopkins, would you like to talk on your...
Just briefly, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The update, I think, is very comprehensive this month, and I thank the staff for that. But I do note there are a number of issues that just have been dragging on for even years, and I would not like to see them lost, and I would like to see them put forward as part of Council's plan, because they are resolutions of Council, and I'd like to see them included in the upcoming plan.
Thank you. Would anyone like to talk against the recommendation?
I We'll talk against it on the basis of, take a look at page 165, sorry, that's the old minutes. I scrolled to the old minutes. Managing heavy vehicles in Bombala Town Centre. This has got 1, 2, 3 pages of updates basically saying no information, no information. When do we take these things out? When do we say to the community, can we take this off the table? The question now becomes, how long do we keep something? This goes back all the way to 25th of January 2021 when an informal meeting was held between Bombala-based councillors and relevant staff. The outcome of the meeting is to proceed with further community consultation. As a consequence of November 2020, meetings arranged with Bombala-based councillors to discuss options, and then effectively just a whole lot of no further action, no further action, no further action. This is not planned work for the strategic plan. How do we actually address these things, go back to the community and say, hey, we're not going to do it? Can we actually take this off the list? How do we tidy this table up?
Yes, yep. Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's two mechanisms for that. One would be if staff were of a view that this should no longer proceed, or there's no point in carrying this on, that circumstances or other events have prevented this moving forward, then as part of this report, staff could recommend to the council through this that item XYZ, for example, be deleted and no further action taken. It's one option. The other option is that councillors themselves have that option in receiving this report and resolving as you, or moving as you are here. As part of that, you could move that certain items here be closed off and no further action taken.
Because just untangling it, it's resolution 422/19, which would assume is 2019, and one of the lines in the middle, it says 23rd of January 2024. Consultation is waiting on the provision of information from community members on what option they would like council to consult with the community on. It's almost like straight out of utopia. So who's waiting for who, and how do we actually bring this to a point of finality? It stretches back to 2019, which is 6 years. Is that something that we could put in as an addition, that some way overdue projects actually need to have a deadline? Or
I wouldn't want to put timelines on things.
well, the problem is they've got timelines and they're just, this one's 6 years old. So
All right, so do you want to change your motion, councillor Hopkins? Or we can take it on board and do it for the next meeting.
Just for clarity, the motion up there is saying that action needs to be resourced to do in the next delivery program. So that becomes one of the things that is based on that resolution. Or
So it actually
motion up there
stated in there.
is to say all those things need to be included and resourced to be done in the delivery program.
But through you, Mr. Mayor, if I could add as well that rather than a motion to that effect, that I'm happy to take on board operationally that ahead of the next report coming back, that staff have a good look at those items again, and if there's an opportunity, if we see an opportunity for a recommendation coming forward to close that off for whatever reason, and we explain that in the report, that that we could suggest some deletions for next month.
so to close off my comments would be, if at the commencement of this report, in that overview, could staff recommend the particular issues? We can quickly go through them, check with the community, that it might be that this is recommended to have action and we have to kick ourselves in the pants and get on with it, or we could say, no, this is not going to go anywhere, we pull it out. Right, thank you.
Do I have someone speaking for the recommendation?
Let me just ask a couple of questions.
Yes.
One question is, if there's something in this update that is not consistent with the motion that was passed, what happens in that situation? So I'll just take, for example,
What page are you on?
I'm on page 5, the ratepayer survey. There was a specific motion passed about that required delivery of an outcome with materials presented to council by the end of the first quarter. There's been no attempt to do that, but it's been explained, but I don't see the explanation has been satisfactory. So what do we do in that situation where there's a motion that's been passed, but the explanation doesn't actually deal with the results of so the motion was to basically propose an action plan with the results of the last 3 surveys to be presented to councillors, along with the results of this survey, to address top priorities indicated by the survey results. Now, it's clear that there's no intention to do that, but we've actually got a motion along those lines.
Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that, Mr. Mayor. The process for there, if you're not comfortable or satisfied with the response that staff have provided back in that it's up to the council, should they wish to move a further motion, that further action or more urgent action or resources be applied to any of those outstanding matters, then that's a matter for the council to decide. So it's up to you. If you wanted to see that move forward, to move another more quickly, then move another motion to that effect as part of this.
Thank you. And your second question?
The other question is that the motion 301.24 on the staff survey briefing, which was that councillors receive a full briefing about the staff survey that was completed in the last 3 months. That was back in December. This briefing should include a live online briefing with the survey company to discuss the results and how they compare with other councils. This hasn't been included in the resolution action sheet as far as I can see, nor has there been any survey briefing proposed for councillors.
The email I sent you, it's in there. I don't know why you can't find it.
I could find the one that we talked about, the ratepayer survey, not the staff survey. Yes, I couldn't find you one there.
Yeah, 124 is the ratepayer survey. So
Yes, so the staff survey is, where is it? There's 300 and 301. They were both followed on each other. So it may be just a misnomer in terms of the numbering, but there's nothing in the resolution action sheets about the staff survey.
Yeah, that's the three, Mr. Mayor. If I could ask Ms. Somerville to give an update of any discussions she's had with the consulting company.
Thank you. Update is I've spoken to Mastertech. I'm just waiting for a suitable date to be added in, noting that there's been a lot of meetings on Wednesdays and Thursdays for councillors. So I'll work with the Mayor in terms of a couple of suitable dates there around other items. Yeah.
Any more questions?
So
So I think the answer is we're still bringing that to you. We're just trying to get suitable dates for the external person to actually come and present the findings or the results, I should say, to councillors. So we might, as we've said in the past, we're going to have to start organising more workshops because we just can't fit everything in. And so, yeah, as soon as we know a date, we'll just pencil that in and hopefully councillors will show up to that.
I think that was the same answer I got last month.
Exactly right. And it was meant to be I think it was meant to be this month. But as you know, we've now got a few more meetings. Next week, I think we've just got about a meeting every day, except for Friday next week, I think by memory, looking at my calendar. So it is challenging. So maybe we need to, as soon as we know a date, we'll extend that a day for councillors to get those results.
That's fine. I suppose, as you know, there's nothing much more important than the results of a staff survey to inform councillors about the story and the organisation. Yes. So I think
Thank you.
Be grateful for that as soon as we can.
Thank you. Do I have someone speaking for the recommendation? Councillors. Do I have anyone want to talk against? Councillor Hopkins, would you like a right reply? With that, I put the motion. All those in favour of the recommendation that's on the board. Councillor, unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 6.1.2, unlawful motions. Do I have a mover? Councillor Thaler, do I have a seconder? Councillor Davis. Councillor Thaler, would you like your 5 minutes?
Oh, you'd love it.
Oh yeah, 61, sorry. Councillor.
From a procedural perspective, being new councillors in for 6 months, we received some limited training in those first 2 months, and coming from different enterprises and different backgrounds, it's quite a jump into the local government system. I actually appreciate some of the levity that I've been given, or the freedom, and I also take umbrage at some of the lack of freedom. The idea that there's an unlawful motion is quite an interesting thing. It's very subjective. Who determines that a motion is unlawful? Is it the legislation that determines it? You would think so, but in this case, it's the CEO's opinion. And so that when somebody rules a motion unlawful, does it actually mean that you can't discuss it or bring it to the table or amend it? So for example, the road sign says 100 kilometres an hour. It says that you should not go over that speed, but you can, and most times nothing happens. And if you notice that you're going over that speed, you take your foot off the accelerator and you slow back down, you self-correct. So to the extent that a motion might be unlawful, might just be that it suffered a drafting error, or it might not have been properly expressed. The idea might at its heart be good or solid. And so I would propose that where a motion is considered unlawful, it should still be included in the business paper, and that the reason it's unlawful be put, and that way the council has an opportunity to see the issue, debate the issue, and potentially cure the motion and say, well, we see that it would be unlawful on this basis, but we can cure that and then repair the motion. By keeping the motion out is quite a problem. And so it says in here, in the issues, 2 motions were excluded as they made allegations of breaches of the Code of Conduct. Again, this Code of Conduct has basically been determined by the Minister to be quite questionable, and he's asking whether it's fit for purpose, as he has also asked about the Code of Meeting Practice and whether or not it's fit for purpose. So these documents that we kind of work to, the boundaries we generally try to stay within, are at this stage being under review by the Minister. And so to say that the CEO takes the view that a motion is unlawful, I think that's inappropriate. I think that it's whatever the will of the council is, subject to law, but you should put the motion in the paper and not leave it out, so that we might cure it at the table, which is actually the point of this table. So I understand that this is more of a report to note, but I would ask that the executive particularly take on board that it's not really their job to be the ultimate gatekeepers. The legislation is the gatekeeper. And if we want to drive our car over 100 kilometres an hour, because we know there's no police on the road, we make a value judgment at that time. And if we want to pass or make a motion that might be considered unlawful, but that might only be at that point in time, or it might trigger the law to be reviewed. So again, you're actually taking the right away from this table to deal with the substantive issues. So I would propose that there's no particular recommendation, but it's more for a point of discussion. If a motion is potentially unlawful, or if it is unlawful, it still should be put in the business paper with a note to that effect, and that the council and certainly the mover or the proponent behind the motion have an opportunity to remedy it, cure it, discuss it, or remove that part of the motion which might be unlawful. So I think that we have an opportunity to solve many of our own problems, and it comes through to discussion at this table.
Thank you, Councillor Thaler. I've just got a quick question about that comment. If we were to do that, we'll have to change the Code of Meeting Practice, because it clearly says that under the Code of Meeting Practice, where the CEO's option that the unlawful, it cannot be put in the business paper.
You would have to change the Code of Meeting Practice, yes, Mr Mayor, because I don't have that discretion. The code is clear in saying if I'm of the view that it's unlawful, then I must not include it. It doesn't say I may exclude it. It says I must not include it.
So you would,
If I was to do that, I'd be breaching the code of conduct, and I don't do that.
so you would have to put a motion up to change
Yeah.
the code of meeting practice.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Rawlings is just reminding me too that that part of the code is a mandatory provision, so you couldn't take that out.
Thank you.
Right.
Question?
Yeah, question. I think that I've read in the act that part of the responsibility of the general manager is to advise on to the councillor if its motion is unlawful, how it can be corrected as well. So there is a provision already for that to be done, as far as I understand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I think I've demonstrated to a number of councillors that I do that where I can. I have done that. I've suggested to a number of councillors amendments to their motions to make sure that they can proceed. Yes.
Thank you.
It's up to councillors whether they take on that advice that I provide them or not.
Thank you. Do I have someone speaking against the motion? Someone speaking against with that?
Just a question. I'm slightly concerned what we're sort of debating and voting if this is carried. I mean, the recommendation is that there is no recommendation. Slightly confused as to the actual debate.
We're noting it.
We're noting that. So we are, there is no recommendation, it's just the report. So, sorry, do you want to talk?
Well, we status quo.
Yeah. So what it is, my understanding, I'll correct.
Yep.
Correct
Through you,
me if
Mr.
I'm
Mayor.
wrong, yeah.
Yep. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The intent was that we just presented this without a motion, but if the council is of a mind to move a motion in this regard, then we can change what's in there to say that the council just note the information.
I don't propose at the moment that we need to change it because accepting Mr. Rawlings' advice that it's a mandatory provision, the code of meeting practice is it's currently subject to review by the government, so we would need to wait for that document to come out in any event. So we can't really do anything.
He did not have to be changed. Keep it original. Thank you. No one talking against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour of the recommendation that's on the board. Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 6.1.3, the settlement claims. Thank you, Councillor Davis moving. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Thaler second. Councillor Davis, would you like to talk?
Particular report claims itself.
Excellent. Thank
There
you.
is further resolution.
Do I have someone speaking against the recommendation that's on the board?
I will speak against it. I'm just catching up with my thinking.
You're on page
I've got
64.
that.
The time has started.
I know that. I'm trying to think how to put the question.
Question.
What is in my conversation with support of this motion?
You're speaking against.
You're against.
I understand that. So one of the issues is why are we not seeing any progress with regards to some of the claims? So it's all well and good to note it, but how do we actually push this matter on? So we were here early in this year. 10th of January, we settled a claim with Mr. Chotar.
Wow.
He's given me permission to use his name.
Order,
Councillor Thaler, please. Yeah.
not use people's names.
In the code of meeting practice, which causes that you seek to rely on.
Councillor Thaler, when it's coming to confidential information, you shouldn't be mentioning people's name in public.
It's not confidential.
Look, no, but the names are confidential.
Not if he's given me permission to use it.
Well, so please send me an email which states that then, Councillor Thaler. If he say otherwise, I have to stick to the code of meeting practice, and it's very clear that you should not be mentioning people's name in a public forum.
The CEO can clarify this for you, Mr. Mayor. The deed that you struck in the office, it was witnessed by Councillor Elliott, Councillor Stewart, or no, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Rose and myself. Only the numerical value of the settlement was confidential. The rest was not. Is that not correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Right. So therefore, the use of the name renders the point of order from my learned colleague beside me is actually wrong. I have permission to use his name.
Continue.
Thank you. So we did have a settlement on the 10th of January. We are now 3rd or 4th of April. How do we push this along? I know that you've had some, the CEO has had some discussions with this statewide in Mills and Oakley how do we push this along? There's a woman in Tasmania who is really suffering. She has a sizable claim. She is really suffering because we can't push this along. You told us you would bring us information. On that 10th of January, you said you would have information from Mills and Oakley. It's now April. So what have we not done as a council? Is the insurer not looking? Do we have adequate insurance? Was our insurance adequate at the time? Whilst we may note the settlement of claims, this actually fails to note the list of outstanding and ongoing claims.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is only one outstanding claim. You talk about outstanding claims, there is one, that's the subject of the table in here. The table that I'm providing on a monthly basis includes dot points of action that I have taken, either keeping in the claimant's representative and the claimant informed of progress, or dot points of my exchanges with Mills Oakley, who are the lawyers that act both for council and our insurer statewide. I've already added to this for next month's report with further exchanges that I've had with both the claimant and their representative. And as recently as Tuesday of this week, a discussion I had with Mills Oakley, and I understand that the claimant's representative and the claimant should be getting correspondence from the insurer within the next few days.
Okay, well that is then quite positive. So I'll look forward to reading that.
Sorry, could I ask?
Yes.
Thank you. Through the mayor to the CEO, is it your understanding that settlement is imminent?
I can't answer that, Mr. Mayor. The settlement will be between the claimant and the insurers. So I can't anticipate how long it will take for those two parties to reach agreement.
Is it your understanding, let me clarify perhaps, is it your understanding that the insurer is seeking to settle the claim?
I can't speak on behalf of the insurer, but we have forwarded the claim to the insurer, as we have done with all other claims associated with this event, and all other claims bar this one have been settled in negotiation with the insurer and the claimant. Those that were settled between the claimant and the insurer but still had matters outstanding in relation to council's liability or position in relation to the matter have been now resolved by me. This is the last claim that is outstanding that is with the insurer. It's up to them to reach agreement with the claimant.
So as I understand it, council infrastructure that failed, the person claiming to have suffered damage has made a claim against council, and council has referred that to our insurer.
That's exactly so.
Given that it's 5 years later and the insurer has not settled the claim, how long does council persist in directing the claimant to the insurer before we make a determination the insurer is not going to settle the claim and then deal with it in a different manner?
If I, without going into any confidential information, Mr. Mayor, I can state that the claim that the insurers are currently dealing with is not 5 years old. It is far more recent than that. This claimant has put a number of claims and varied claims through to council and to the assessors and to the insurers. This latest claim was dated March 2024.
Thank you. Councillor Thaler, would you like to continue the debate? We're still in debate. Councillor Thaler has not finished his 5 minutes, so allow him with respect to finish his 5 minutes, and then we go back to questions. But I think he has.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to conclude.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I just correct the statement I made? I said March 2024. As stated in the report, the revised claim was submitted on the 16th of April 2024. My apologies.
Thank you. Councillor Thaler.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to conclude. I do thank the executive for their assistance that we're trying to actually push this along as Councillor Williamson, Elisa David. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rose, did you have another question?
I just have a question. I think I understood from Mr. Dunshea that the lawyers, Mills and Oakley, are acting for us and for the insurance company. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
And do they act for us in any other areas as well?
I'm not aware that they do. Yep, I'm not aware that they do. They, I've dealt with these same insurers because of involvement that I have had with statewide and other councils. So they are well known to work with statewide. As to whether we use them for other things on our panel here, I'm not aware of that.
Can I ask one more question? Because it would be helpful, I think, for all of us. So the statewide, we left them as an insurance provider sometime in 2021. And so for them, this obviously, just from first principles, if we're not insuring with them, they haven't got a great incentive to do much for us. But the issue of how this happens from here is complicated because, as I understand it, we've got the insurers, we've got us, we've got an excess involved, and we've got a settlement which could end up in a legal situation. Who makes the determination of the risks and benefit about that? Do we make it? Is it made on behalf of the lawyers? Who actually gives that advice?
It will be council that makes that decision. If the insurers and the claimant make or reach agreement, and that's signed off, it's finished, payment is made by the insurer to the claimant, then council will have no further involvement in the matter. This instance or this incident that happened in 2020, we did have an excess. I think our excess was $20,000. 20,000. Yep. So we paid our excess on the matter. This outstanding claim, and as I said, it's not 5 years old. This claim, it's April 2024, so it's not quite a year old. This claim, it is covered under that same incident for which we have already paid our excess. So it is up to them to reach agreement. If that doesn't happen, if they can't reach agreement, then that would be a matter that came back for the council to consider. And that's a matter that would then move into a confidential discussion with the council as to what the council wants to do in that instance. But at this stage, it is still with the insurer. And as I said earlier to Councillor Thaler, you'll see my dot points in there. I'm not letting this go. It's regular contact that I'm having both with the claimant's representative and CCing the claimant. And that's the instructions I got from the claimant to manage it that way. And you will also see in there regular notes of me contacting Mills Oakley, who are the insurers acting for it. As I said earlier, not 2 days ago was the latest exchange I had with them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do I have someone speaking?
Just very quickly, just for a procedural question. I know that it keeps saying left the meeting, joined the meeting. I just spoke to my kids and got rid of a phone call. I haven't left the room or left.
Once you leave this table, you have left the room.
I want to check that's the definition of leaving the meeting, is leaving the table.
Yes. The moment you stand up and walk away from this table, you have left this meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
No problem. Do I have someone speaking for or at? No one? Councillor Davis, would you like to write a reply?
No, I'd just like to thank the CEO for his diligence around trying to get this resolved. One outstanding claim. Excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I put the motion. All those in favour of the recommendation that's on the board? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 7.1 minutes.
Happy to move it. Thank you.
Management Committee. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'm second.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Councillor Thaler. Oh, sorry, hang on. Let me just get it up first. Councillor Stewart was second. Yep. Councillor Thaler, 5 minutes.
Thank you. I spoke on, I think I moved the same motion in Jindabyne last year in November. And I do remember putting a question which was taken on notice, and I sort of rise to follow this up. We have spoken about this in the briefing sessions as well. Who properly reads these things and who creates an action? And I draw the council's attention to the minutes of the Amenity Hall there, S355 committee meeting on the 11th of February, which is on page 69. Business arising, repairs to outside of walls of the hall are an urgent need. Now, they were urgent in November as well. There has been no painting done for 10 years and the wood is drying out and cracking off. Discussion ensured and the decision that a certified builder examine the site and present a report to council, and that we have also had within our IP&R discussions that we do building surveys, and is that a role that we should better timetable? So instead of the committee trying to find an expert, we could retask as part of our asset management team when they do. These are the discussions that councillors might remember. So I want to highlight that this issue seems to be still somewhat unresolved. Tiles in the kitchen's coming off. That's exactly the same line that was there in November. So who reads these reports? Who creates an action plan and talks to these committees to say, can we just give you $10 and you buy your own glue and you stick your own tiles back on? Or is it actually a broader problem and the tiles are all falling off because the wall's completely buggered? We need to, there's a limit to what us councillors can do. We can read it, we can take notes. We're not allowed to talk to staff. We've got to work through the executive. I asked this question in November. We're now in April. The same line has come into the minutes. The same issue persists. And so I want to draw this council's attention to focus on, let's attend our minds to how can we better serve these committees. They've met, they've raised money, they take care of their buildings, and then maybe they're hitting a brick wall or an asbestos wall and the tiles are falling off. Maybe they're not allowed to put the tiles back on. I don't know. I can't find those answers. So the question was taken on notice. I never got an answer. I'm not going to browbeat anyone too heavily over that, but I do think that we need to actually deal with this in a structured way so that our communities don't lose faith with us. And maybe it comes down to hopefully properly identified. These are other discussions more for the public's benefit. Some of these buildings are on Crown land and we manage them. Some of these are community assets that we have inherited management for. Some of these are council buildings. But we do have a property inspection team that do asset property inspections. Do we need to actually look at retasking them to pick up these minutes of these community facilities and then swing their work programs to actually address these issues? If they need funds, come back to us and we'll authorise it. It's not really a big problem.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have someone speaking against the recommendation? No one's been against. Thank you. With that, I put the motion. All those in favour?
Sorry, just a question. I thought Councillor Thaler asked questions. Can we have them
Who's in
answered?
debate?
Who reads the minutes and takes actions?
Well, that's a question. If you want to put a question, but when you're debating,
Sorry,
he was debating. He wasn't actually asking questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took it as comments. No,
I took it
if
as
it's a
comments.
question, I'm happy to provide a response.
Oh, sorry, I thought when he said I asked the question, that's what he was.
He asked the question.
I'm happy for you to convert them into questions.
Like, is there an answer to the question? What
He didn't ask
happens
the
if-
question. He debated.
I'll
He
ask
did
the
not-
question.
Thank you. Ask the question.
So we get these minutes in. They point out all this stuff. How is that picked up and turned? Does it go to the building inspections team to go and have a look? How does all that work?
Look, without getting into the specifics of each committee there and which staff or where those staff are from that attend those meetings, the procedure is that the minutes are forwarded to their respective teams.
Right.
It may well be that relevant staff have attended those meetings and hear firsthand the issues. If those requests or works needed are actionable within maintenance budgets and they can be attended to, then relevant staff would refer that to the maintenance teams that they would get on with it. I would imagine that there's instances there where it goes on a wish list of things on our extensive list of buildings and for repairs, maintenance, that are looking to utilise a limited resource of funds to do that. So minor things can be attended to operationally. If it requires more than that, it would require a report back to council for our council to consider to prioritise that above other works, to allocate funds for it. It's not a simple answer to your question, Councillor Williamson. It really depends on what the works are, what area it's from, is it building related, is it more than that, is it a structural issue? But the simple answer to your question is it goes to the relevant teams to deal with as best they can within the resources that they do have available.
Does that happen before it comes to us?
Thank you.
So question. Thank you, Chair. Question. Building on Councillor Williams' question and in response to the CEOs, looking at these minutes, page 67, there is no council member present with that meeting.
I was just
Page
noticing that
59,
as well.
there's no council member present. But within each of the meetings that attended, page 71,
Management committees generally.
the first one is actually a 355 management committee. So the question is council, don't we have a minuting role to help with those 355 committees?
No.
Is that then something that we might, do we need to add a line to the motion that we encourage staff to attend these meetings?
We add a
If
cost.
that would become very resource hungry, you do
Yeah.
it for one management committee, you've got to do it for all management committees.
It's a
It
big
becomes a
resource
question of-
equity.
I think those committees, if they need a council staff representation, they will lobby to get those down to a meeting, and then to bring it in or come to a councillor, they'll come and see a councillor to say they got an issue, and you'll get it through that way. These are 335 committees that are run by those committees, and they just fill the minutes into us. That's been a standard process for a long time with the committees. It's not foolproof, but it's pretty good, and that you've got the opportunity. If the Amenity people with the hall, they should lobby a council or councillors to say, look, we try to get funding, and then go through that process of getting a funding for it, and on management, on different management issues, and then they can ask for a council representative or councillor to come to their meeting to further advance that. That's how it works. I think, if we go down the path that we're going to have a council representative there at every meeting, it's going to be very expensive, and it's not needed.
Councillor Williamson.
I first to admit, I've never spent a lot of time wondering about committees, but just looking at the Michelangelo committee, it's got a list of office bearers, and it says they were elected to the committee. Who elects people to a committee?
We do.
They nominate and we
So the
elect them.
council elected them. We had a vote to elect them.
No, they sent the nominations in.
Yes, and we elect them.
So they're appointed. They're not elected by the community
No.
directly.
No.
They're by you.
These are volunteers.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
just asking what that
Yeah.
word meant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all. Thank you. All right. There was no debate, so I put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to notice of motions, 8 point, now we've changed it, sorry, hang on, 8.1. And point, yeah, it's been moved. No, it's been moved. 10, yes, but what was it meant to be?
It was meant to be 10.
Oh, okay, sorry, I get the 10 now. So we're moving the Michelangelo bin one to 8.1. So Councillor Thaler's motion, would you like to move your motion?
Yes, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Van, just a point of order.
Yes.
I've been studying the Moral Code of Conduct and the Code of Meeting Practice, and it says the chairperson should read out the motion prior to calling on a seconder for the motion. So why don't we just adhere to that?
Yep, 8.10 is the relocation of the Michelangelo bins.
Yes, so it says the mayor should read out the motion prior to calling for a seconder of the motion.
Sorry, no, we don't have to do that. I don't think the screen's too big.
slightly different.
Yeah, so I would want the motion to be,
Wait, no.
sorry,
This
councillor,
is the code of meeting practice.
Yes,
This is actually prescribed.
no, so I'll just rephrase it. It is not my motion. So if councillor Thaler wants to read out his motion, I will allow him to do that. But no, I do not have to sit here and read all the motions out of a council meeting.
So you're denying the code of meeting practice.
I didn't say it must.
The chair, I'll tell you what it says. It's the duty of the chairperson at the meeting of the council to receive and put to the meeting lawful motion that has been brought before the meeting. Now, all these motions have actually been moved and sent in. We've got 10 days notice. The chairperson should read out the motions prior to calling for a seconder of the motion. So
It says should. It doesn't say have to. Councillor Thaler, would you like your motion?
Yes, I'm happy to move the motion.
Do I have a seconder?
Sure.
Councillor Williamson, Councillor Thaler.
So I'm happy to amend the motion so we can actually quell some anxiety.
Okay. Slow down then when we read out the motion.
So the original motion, the intent behind this, and I'll bring you to it. The intent behind this was to try and solve a problem. We got information as councillors.
Sorry, Councillor Thaler.
Just put your motion.
What's your motion you'd like to put up, and then we'll debate. No, I don't want we need a motion up on the screen, and then we'll start debating it. What is your motion that you're going to move?
I'm happy to delete part A and part B. Should he say?
Good thing you didn't read it.
Motion. Or should what I mean? It would have been 5 minutes of reading, and then I would have been changing it. So
I was going to explain why I started with
Yes, you
that
can do
start
that.
point. The
I need a motion
replacement
on-
motion is that
Does he have to
council,
or should he do it?
I don't have to. We're changing the motion, Councillor. Oh no, he doesn't. He's changing. He's about to read it out. What are you changing?
that council supply locks upon each bin in accordance with the wider bank of bin practices. So when we look at, I'll jump back a bit.
Sorry, quick question.
Let him speak.
Where are the bins?
Well, the Mikalago Bank of
Right,
Bins.
we probably should pop that in the motion.
Okay, well, it was the Mikalago. Relocation of Mikalago Bank of Bins was the title at 810, and that's the motion within it. Happy to add supplier locks upon each bin in the Mikalago Bank of Bins building, structure, what do we call it? The bulb?
That council supply locks upon each bin in the Mikalago bin, bank of bin.
So I'm trying to work as a team. So what I'm trying to get at, let's have a good simple motion.
Could I suggest?
Members of the public, please stay silent as we are debating. Thank you, members of the
The
public.
point that I'm trying to get to is the reasons. Let me just do what I was going to do so that it'll all make sense. We have a building in Mikalago and it's full of bins. And after Christmas, and they've got plenty of prawns in there, they're ripe. And this facility has a number passcode lock on the doors. And it's apparently that number code is only meant to be to the people who use the bank of bins building. But that number code is freely shared to anybody. And so anybody can turn up at any time with as much rubbish as they like and fill all the bins in the facility, which repeatedly happens. This is the first complaint that I get. Second complaint is it stinks. Third complaint is that you come all the way down and it's full and your bin's full. If we look at a bank of bins throughout Snowy Rivershire, or former Snowy Rivershire area, you will notice that the bins are locked and each resident has a lock on their bin. They have the key, the council has the master key, so that only that resident can put their rubbish in that bin. So if we apply a similar solution within the bank of bins building, it's within the simple structure. The residents pay a key deposit, the resident has a key, no one else can go into the bank of bin using the freely available passcode and fill 10 bins. They can only fill their own bin. So the point was, before I found all of that out is my research into this problem, the problem was that people were saying we don't want the building there. There are secondary issues. Is the building straddling a boundary line and projecting into the road, projecting into the rail corridor? These are secondary issues to be addressed by staff. But first principle I got was complaints. It stinks. It's full.
It'll be emptied and it'll be full the next morning because someone comes in overnight. So as I untangled the whole problem, I accept that people don't really want it moved. So I'm happy to take that part of the motion out. Point that
It wasn't that they didn't want it not repaired.
the idea of not repairing it was that I was told by the CEO that it was potentially $120,000. And my argument was, why would we put $120,000 in if potentially the community wanted it moved? Wouldn't that $120,000 go towards moving it? But the point has distilled down to, it seems the majority of the community are happy for it to remain. But the problem is the individual users who have their bins in the banker bin, the BOB, the BOB, they want to be able to secure their bin so that no one else can use their bin. And that's exactly the same principle we've established for the roadside banker bins, even around Snowy Shire. There's an outdoor metal cage. There's 10 wheelie bins in a row with red lids, and there's 10 wheelie bins in a row with yellow lids. Each bin has a lock, and that resident has that key. The garbage truck driver has one key that opens all of the locks so he can open them all, but each resident, each property pays a key deposit, and they have a key for their rubbish bin, for their recycling bin, and their bin only. So thereby, instead of the main problem, which potentially has led to people getting frustrated and damaging the facility because they've come down and all the bins are full or their bin's full. So the objective would be that we supply locks upon each bin in the Mikalago banker bin storage area in accordance with the wider banker bin practices. Tony Murray's nodding his head from the executive to ask a quick question. Is that practical?
Seems like a good idea.
Seems like a good idea, right? So
Hang on.
We don't know.
Hang on. Sorry. Sorry, sorry. There's a lot of questions I've got. It does sound great, but how many people in Mikalago have, well, how many bins are in Mikalago bin? How many people actually use them? Do we need to find another 100 bins? Sorry, I'll go to Councillor Williams first.
I do have a suggestion.
And everyone's Williamson hasn't changed in the last
I say Williamson.
55 years.
Is that Williamson?
No.
Did I say Williamson?
No, you
Not
didn't.
you, not Councillor Thaler, but I think it's just abbreviation to try and shorten the meeting.
You can call me Luke. That's fine.
I can't. Sorry, Councillor Williamson.
The motion has now been revised. It's substantially different. I recommend we go into committee and let's have a good conversation about this. So I'd move we go into committee.
Do I have a second?
that.
All those, sorry, let me get that on the board before I second it. Would you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'll wait till I get into committee.
Okay. All right.
Oh, actually, we might not need to go into committee before we, can we just, before we go into committee and vote for that, the CEO's just got a proposal.
Suggestion.
Suggestion.
That's all to move this ahead. I'm a bit with Mr. Murray on that. On the surface, that sounds like a reasonable suggestion, but I don't know that it is. And I'm not sure that it's what residents of Mikalago would want. Could I suggest that motion change to be that staff investigate the feasibility of council supplying and we'll report back to you? There might be risk matters that we need to take into consideration. But it's worth considering. Is the point I'm making. So to keep it moving forward,
We'll go into,
staff investigate it.
we'll vote on committee first before we start asking
All right.
1,000 questions. All those in favour to go into committee, hands up. Councillor Higgins, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Rose, Councillor Rooney, Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Thaler, and Councillor Hannah. All those against, Councillor Summers and Councillor Davis. Okay, we're now in committee, so we'll have some questions. Councillor Higgins.
Councillor Thaler, would you, would you accept an amendment that is just about investigating the options that could be available to the Mikalago bank of bins, including, cost effectiveness and efficiency of, the trucks coming down, having to work, like at the moment there is a system and they work to that system to empty the bank of bins facility as quickly as possible. I would be concerned about, you know, the extra length of time of, you know, unlocking the bins, seeing if there was anything in it. And can that include consultation with the community? Because the community are sick of these things coming up and no one talking to them about it.
That'd be part of the
Would-
investigation.
Would you be happy to put that into your motion?
Yeah, I don't live in Michelego and I don't use the bank of bins. I made effort to contact various people up there, and what started off with some people saying we want it gone merged into, well, it's not that bad, we can deal with it. But the problem is when we come in, the bins are full. That's the most common thing that I heard.
That
They
happens a couple of times a year, so it's not all the time.
I can only go off
But I
once.
think that's where consultation is really, really important, because everyone around, I mean, there's only 2 people around this table who regularly use the bank of bins. I hate the bank of bins. I can't believe I'm here supporting the bank of bins, but the community do value the bank of bins as it stands at the moment, and they understand that there are very few, no alternates at this present time to its location or configuration. I would agree with you that the code to get into the bank of bins is the world's worst secret, and there are a lot of people using the bank of bins who don't pay for the bank of bins, which hardly seems fair. So I would be open to exploring some cost-effective options in consultation with the community, because that's the one thing that never happens in Michelego.
And to answer your question, I'm very happy with that. What I was trying to get down to is it's actually not a new concept. So if you go to Jindabyne, if you go out the back roads towards Dalgety, you'll see there's a fire shed and there's rows of red bins. There's actually, I think, 2 cages of red bins and 2 cages of yellow bins. So the truck drivers who empty the bins are well versed in what's involved.
That's fine, but I am one of
Yep, so
a
happy.
few hundred people. I think we need to do anything
Mr. Mayor, I
with the
think
community.
I need to comment at this point.
Yeah, sorry,
There
where
are far more uses than there are bins. It's not practical to have
Yeah.
a lock on every bin.
Yeah.
I only use 10% of
Sorry,
it.
Councillor Rooney, there is hands up, so please don't interrupt. There was Councillor Summers, then Councillor Stewart, then Councillor Williamson, and then Councillor Hopkins, and then you can talk.
I thought the council might want to hear from a user.
I understand that, but hands up,
Uh,
it's actually fair, but, you know, instead of just yelling, we have hands.
So my question is simply, if the proposed amendment to review is attached to the original motion here, that will not preclude us proceeding with the insurance claim and
No.
repair.
No,
It can march ahead.
we'll get on with that tomorrow.
Right.
Brilliant.
Good.
Thank you.
So make sure review didn't mean stop.
I don't know.
Councillor Stewart.
I don't know other councils, but I got an email from the president of the community group up at Michelego trying to get councillors not to support this motion, but to go back and just get the repairs done and get the bank of bins operating. And as far as I'm concerned, I've been the head of that's got a lot of credence in my judgment. And I think that council should go back down to that path, repair the damage, go back to the bank. There will always be issues at different times when you've got public amenities. There's always going to be. You've got to try to minimise it, but to me, with that letter, I don't know with other council, I might have been a privileged councilor to get that.
You are.
I don't know. But anyway, I read it and I thought, well,
popular with Michelego.
I read it, I read it and I said, well, that's the way we should go. It's pretty simple. Don't make rocket science out of it and just do it. We've got insurance on the thing, repair it and get back and get the thing working again.
Can I, as a sponsor of the motion, can I jump in with a
No.
relevant, sorry, relevant question?
No, you put your hand up. Not a relevant question.
The relevant question.
I appreciate that, but we're all waiting, so if you keep jumping in, it's going to take a lot longer. Councillor Williams.
Yeah, so look, I have an observation and some questions which I think would go to Mr. Gargetts. So my observation is that the current bank of bins location results in me getting phone calls from people whose sleep is disturbed when the facility is accessed at all hours of the day. And that's because their homes are quite close to the facility. We're talking meters from where it is to their homes. I'm sure all of us would not like having a garbage tip across the road from where we live.
Is this
So
a question?
I'm making an
Please.
observation.
Observation.
Very clear. I'm
Observation.
making an observation.
Right.
And I'll ask a couple of questions. So I think, one of the issues that I regularly hear is that it's in a place that has destroyed the amenity for a number of homeowners. All right, and if you know where it is, that's I think a very reasonable view that's put forward. My questions to Mr. Gargetts, if I could direct them to you. We spoke about this at our last meeting, Mr. Gargetts. It's my understanding.
Mr. Gargett, not Gargetts.
It's my understanding that the facility is built in the road. It is in the road reserve. It's not on a piece of council-owned land. It's in the road, and we looked at 6 maps together the other day. Have you been able to confirm if that's the case?
I haven't, but I could have a look whilst you're having the discussion. I can have a look.
I was informed by a senior member of the fire brigade that they were told that the facility couldn't be refurbished because it's not lawfully approved. So if we could confirm that as well. And I'm also told that the building itself encroaches into the rail reserve and is built, in fact, the corner of the building encroaches onto the railway reserve and it is therefore not appropriately sited. My other question is, and I mentioned to you the other day, is couldn't we just pick it up or relocate it to the other side of the rail line where there is ground and space adjacent to the road that would move it away from being in the front yards of the people who live, right there, and would ameliorate the noise because you'd have a large earthen bank that constitutes railway directing the noise away as people access it through the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's a lot of questions. To answer. First of all, the question in relation to fitting the building out, could you elaborate a little bit about the context of that?
Well, the building was previously used as a fire shed,
Yes,
fire brigade shed.
Yeah.
And I was told by the fire brigade after this motion came up,
Yes.
received phone calls from them, telling me that they were advised that they couldn't change that building because in fact it hadn't been approved in the first place and that it's built in the road reserve. And indeed it appears to be when you look at the map. Right smack in the middle of the road.
Okay. Relocating to the location on the western side of the railway, I think would still be within the rail corridor, I think. So any discussions about relocating would have to be held with the Crown in regards to that. In regards to the existing building, and there was the new Royal Fire Service building, there was discussions held with the Crown as well about work in that. I think there might be a lease or a lease involved in this. I would have to go back. It's been a little while since I've had some involvement in that. I remember that took a long time. That's why it's in my head that there was discussions about that. In regards to whether it's in the road reserve, I'm probably 90% sure, yes, it is in the road reserve. And that's not uncommon, buildings of that age being located within a road reserve. But it does have development consent to operate as that. So, and that all the issues that you raised, apart from that fitting out, I'm not across that issue, but that was certainly addressed through our land and property section and also through the planning section.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. The investigation work to relocate picking the building up and just locating it in another location, I don't think that would be a feasible option from being inside the building. It's a very old building. I don't know if that would be the most economical way of proceeding if you were to build a new building.
I'll build a new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Rennie.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Look, I am a user and it is a wonderfully convenient facility. I'm surprised by these concerns about it being on the road reserve. It's been there for 40 years. It's a bit late now to be raising these concerns. As for relocating it, other options were examined. Was about 5 or 6 years ago when it was decided to convert it into a bank of bins. There are no other options. There are no other suitable locations for a bank of bins. It's all been examined in the past and found not to be feasible. There are a lot of issues here that are raised in Councillor Thaler's now rejected motion. I'm glad it's rejected, but I think are furphies. I'm a regular user and I've never once seen any evidence of vermin inside the bank of bins. How could it be possible for vermin to be there? The rubbish is not laying around on the floor. It's in large wheelie bins and within plastic bags there. So there's nothing for rats to eat. As for odour, we have on Facebook a comment by a neighbour who said that she never had problems with odour from the bank of bins. The odour is vented up through the roof, which is about 10 or 15 metres above the ground. It's quite high and hopefully then carried away. As for the noise, it's very quiet for most of the week because the visitation is spread over that whole week. You get one car an hour or one car every half hour coming up and unloading, as opposed to the alternate solution having the trucks there running their engines for a couple of hours and all of the users all descending upon that location all at once. As for that, I just want to point out that apart from the use of fuel, which is quite excessive for those hours that the trucks are waiting, there is a safety issue, Mr. Mayor, which staff need to be aware of. As everybody queues up with their utes to unload them in a hurry before the trucks leave, pedestrians are wandering back and forth all the time. Now, I'm not aware that there's any incident that's occurred yet, but there is a risk. I'd assess it as low, but you need to be aware of it. By and large, the bank of bins is a far safer option, as well as being far more convenient and cheaper for council. So let's not lose sight of that. It was originally put in because it is the most cost-effective way of collecting rubbish from rural residents in the Mikalago region. I'd also like to point out that the issue about the railway reserve might pertain to the new fire station, which is much larger and adjacent to the old fire station. I do recall at the time we needed to negotiate permission from the state government for the use of that rail reserve for the new fire shed. And it's possible that your informant, Councillor Williamson, has got the new fire shed mixed up with the old fire shed in terms of its location on the rail reserve.
No,
But once again, it's been there for 40 years. Why is that a problem now when it hasn't been for 40 years? I've been, assured that it's a very strong building. It's withstood ram raids from a village vandal without falling down. It is very well built and it's on a concrete slab. It's screwed in. It's a large shed. I don't think it's practical to pick it up with a crane and relocate it. And there's no other level ground. So all the alternatives are inferior to the use of the current facility. Now, as for Councillor Thaler's locked bin proposal, well, you would need 10 times as many bins because there are 10 times as many users as there are bins. The bins are very large, and as I say, I only use about 5 to 10% of each bin. If unauthorised access is a major problem that we need to deal with, I would suggest one lock on the door, one key, one lock on the door, and all of the bins remain unlocked. Because when you go there, you can see some of the bins are overfull, some are empty. You've got to lift all the lids to find one which has got enough room for your rubbish. You have to distribute your rubbish occasionally across several bins. And in the Christmas periods, yes, they do get overused, and yes, they looked overstuffed. The bins will not lock because the volume of the rubbish on top. So that's just not practical, councillors. I think if you must have a key, put it on the front door, not on the bins, and that will give maximum flexibility for users. And you won't need to replace the 50-odd large bins with 500 little bins.
Thank you. Councillor Thaler, you were next.
Hawkins.
Oh, sorry, Hopkins. Sorry.
It's actually
Thank you, Councillor.
very sort of simple question, I suppose, but it does concern me that if we support this, we might be supporting it based on some information we're not aware, and we might be causing another problem. It's interesting that all of the other bank of bins, as Councillor Thaler pointed out, has keys, and this one has doesn't have keys. It just has the combination lock. There must be a reason for that, and I'm worried that we might be making a decision which will actually cause us problems a little bit later on. So we might want to suggest rewording that a little bit.
Reword it.
Yeah, and definitely, as Councillor Rooney was saying, just have one lock on the door, but absolutely fix the bins, but don't create another problem. That's all I'm asking. We're making a decision based on not enough information.
Okay, so
Sorry.
this is why I was
Councillor Thaler. Sorry, I apologise. I've just got an answer for Councillor Williams' question. Question.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Thaler, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just having a look at the aerial shot, the bulb, as I call it, is located within the road reserve. The negotiations are dealing with the new RFS building, which is in the Crown land. So that was the negotiation. So I just wanted to clarify so everyone's clear on that distinction.
Well, sorry, well, while you have the picture up, would it be practical to build a new shed on the other side of the rail line? Pretty much directly opposite where it is now?
Who's paying for that?
Councillor Thaler.
Separate
Do
question.
you want to answer that?
I think it's a fair question.
Absolutely.
There's a reason why it's there.
Councillors, please let staff answer the question.
Through Mr. Mayor, I would be reluctant to answer that because without doing more investigation work in that of the options, I would be reluctant to provide any advice on that. I'm not fully familiar with the site, councillor, so
Councillor Thaler.
I apologise for trying to interject before, but what I was trying to do was I have limited knowledge of the site. I've not been inside it. So my impression is when someone talks to me about a bank of bins, that it's the system that we have rolled out much more widely around the Shire, which is these metal frames, and that each premises has its bin and its recycle bin locked in the metal frame with their own lock. And that's what I'm going on, because then how do we achieve equity in charging properties for their rubbish? I've got a property, several properties, got one at Nimittabel. We are entitled to a 120 litre wheelie bin for rubbish, emptied once a week, and a 320, whatever it is, litre recycle bin, which is emptied once a fortnight. Now, I was very excited with Councillor Rooney's telling me how perfect and clean and nice it was, and then he upset me at the end by saying that the bins are overflowing and it's sometimes hard to find space in them. So then what we find is that there's one version.
Councillor Thaler, just stacked up above
Yeah,
the level
but-
where the lid can be shut.
So then what I will now propose, again, who in this room, apart from the experts who use it, can tell me, does the properties who use this bank of bins, do they have effectively their bin stored in this building? As if I've got a property at Nimittabel, if we had no service at Nimittabel, there'd be a bank of bin and there'd be my 120 litre and my 340 wheelie. So therefore, if we don't have that, that's the assumption I was working on. I apologise for making an assumption.
Not individual.
That's where the locking idea came from. So how do you achieve equity in charging property owners a rubbish bin and a recycle fee?
So
I'm asking a question. So how does this thing work? And let's go back. I will happily modify that motion again. But let's talk with the community. If there are problems, what do we need to do to solve them? Because the question that I got from a lot of people was, and I think Councillor Rooney has said it does occur, they go to the facility and the bins are overflowing and they can't put their stuff in. So it sounds like to me everybody shares the bins. So it's a different version of bank of bins again to what I would have appreciated they to be. So Councillor Higgins might be able to assist.
Councillor Higgins. Okay, so it's an old fire shed. So it's quite big. and you have a key lock on the door with numbers, which sometimes gets glued shut and then no one can access it. But you go in and it is half filled with these really big, like really big wheelie bins, bigger than the usual ones that go to houses. And half of them are for garbage and the other half are for recycling. There is a note up, instructions from council for us to use to fill the front bins first. So the system is you come in, you with your rubbish, even though, so for those people who don't know it, it sounds scary that it's written on a road reserve. It is on a corner and there's heaps of room for probably 3 or 4 or possibly even 5 cars and trailers to pull in front of this big shed. You go through the door, you open the first bin. If it's full, you go to the next bin. It's a system that we're all used. You find one that's empty, you put your rubbish in it.
And what do you pay on your rates bill? Do you pay a rubbish bill fee and a recycle fee?
I pay the usual, just the one that everyone pays, and then it's $500 and something a year for access to this waste facility. So that is, so everyone on their properties packs up their rubbish however they can, brings it in whatever vehicle they've got into the town, and technically it would be 24/7, but I don't really know anyone who goes in the middle of the night. Most of it's happening in the middle of the day. It coincides with school runs, before and after work, that kind of thing. I am a frequent user and I have probably never encountered more than 4 other people at the same time disposing of their rubbish. It's usually me by myself actually. So that, for councillors who are not Michelego based, that is our bank of bins, and it was designed that way because the building was vacant once the new fire shed was built, and there was a huge exploration in the area for either council-owned land or land that somebody owned that they would be happy to use that was safe and accessible. Because council just didn't have the money to build something new, this was the arrangement. So I don't love it, but lots of people do. And it has been working. And since it hasn't been working, the interesting thing is the feedback that I've been getting from people that they are not available on that tiny 2-hour block on a Saturday morning. They've got waste up to their eyeballs. They have to then take it further away or keep it. The people of Michelego are highly inconvenienced by it being non-operational for this long. So does anyone have any other questions about the...
second that point, Mr Mayor. There's a lot of anger in the Michelego village at the unnecessary delays to the repair of the bank of bins whilst this motion is being considered. The comment I got from a ratepayer today was tell councillors to shut up, reject that motion and get on with fixing the bank of bins and get it back into service.
Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, look, Mr Mayor, this seemed very stupid to me. Look, that process went through council down there to fix the rubbish and that up down Michelego a fair few years ago. There was some angst in it. I was involved. I think Councillor Rooney might have been involved, or you would have been involved at that time. When it was more cost effective to go. The community, what I can see, and as I'll revert back to what that email we got from the President of the Progress Association down there, or whatever the name of the group is, but trying to come to councils to say that they just want to get the thing back operating again.
Yes.
It seems simple to me. We've had a vandal act that needs to be fixed up and needs to get it back to the community. Just do it. And if we want to change anything or pricing or anything, that's got to go through a waste management process, through our waste thing. It's not, we can't do that here today because on a notice of motion to council.
No, that's actually good.
So we can't do it. We can't change the pricing. It's got to go through the waste management process.
Price change you're referring to?
Well, Council Thaler has been talking about that, paying extra money and not getting received. There's been nothing, but it's been in discussion about
You had the same meeting as me?
about, you know, you pay extra or you don't pay. But look, just go back to the fact that there was a vandal situation down there, which, we always condemn and should condemn all that that's happened. The community they're quite happy with it. Just go down and fix it and move on. It shouldn't be a big issue.
I'll move that we come out of committee and I have a cure to the problem.
We'll come out of committee. Do I have a second to come out of committee? Thank you, Councillor Higgins. All those in favour?
Can I just have a quick question, because Mr. Dunshea had a suggestion which I thought was a good one.
Yeah, we're going to come back to that.
Okay.
Sorry, yes, that hasn't happened yet. I'm about to ask Councillor Thaler for that. All those in favour to come out of committee? Unanimous. Thank you. Now, going back to the motion.
Yeah, and Mr. Dunshea's recommendation.
Your recommendation was to...
Suggestion
Was to...
That staff investigate the feasibility of council supplying.
Well, it would be locks and resident bins. So to bring this to a bit of a conclusion, I accept that people like it and some people are frustrated.
Sorry. I just want to get this up first before we go back. And we're on a different part. So is that what we wanted?
Yeah.
Is that right? You happy with that, Councillor Thaler?
That'll be close enough.
Okay.
To bring this to a close.
Yes, consultation.
Did you want to make it that specific?
You don't really want locks.
Because I can tell you right now that's not feasible. But something else might. So
Well, this is the problem.
can we investigate the feasibility of securing the building?
Options for securing the building.
Yeah, and just fix it and open it. That would be
I
great.
understand that as well. But here's the problem. The Michelego sounds like Michelego sounds like it's got a TARDIS. So it's my understanding that this thing just gets emptied as quickly as it fills. So at Nimidabel, I get 120 litres of rubbish a week, full stop. That's it. If I lived in Michelego, I could have 900 litres of rubbish a week because I can just keep going to this joint and chucking stuff in until I find the bins are all full. So the problem is it now comes down to a question of equity. And what you've revealed to me is that there is a disproportionate benefit to the users of the Michelego bank of bins. I want a bank of bin at Nimidabel now. So I can keep going there in the middle of the night with a ute load of rubbish and just keep filling bins until they run out. That is the essence of what we have just revealed. I've asked for a question. My impression was each house pays a rubbish fee, has a bin, like the standard bank of bins that we have around the Shire. One house, one bin, one recycle. So this is what we don't understand. So we can debate this for ages. I accept.
A Lego transfer station.
Sorry, councillors.
I accept. I don't have enough knowledge.
Sorry.
I'm happy to bring this to an end because we are not going to get much further. But yes, feasibility for locking bins, that is the most common feedback I've got from users was, I want to be able to access the bin that I've paid for.
Thank you. All right. Does someone want to speak against the recommendation? Councillor Rooney.
Well, I will speak against the recommendation because it's impractical to have one bin per resident. There are no scrap merchants in Michelego like there are in Nimidabel, and I doubt anyone could fill it all up the way Councillor Thaler could in an equivalent situation in Nimidabel. They are just simply rural residents. They don't have that much rubbish. As I say, I would use a tenth of a bin. If you want to have one bin per resident, you're going to need 500 bins, not 50, and they're just not going to fit in. So it won't be tall enough. I mean, it's a silly idea. So if you want a lock, I suggest one lock on the door for which residents need to gain admission into the bank of bins. One lock on the door rather than 50 locks on 50 bins or 500 locks on 500 mini bins. And my other concern is, well, look, this is all unnecessary to start with, but does this mean further delays to the repair of the Bank of Bins?
No, we've said
We'll
that.
get on with that tomorrow.
Frustration.
We'll get on to that.
Okay,
Oh dear.
pleased to hear that. No, look, I don't think this is worth supporting the way it's phrased. You could have accepted Councillor Higgins' proposal to make it more general, and then I might support it. But the way it's phrased now, well, I know it's not going to work, so I'll vote against it.
Thank you. Council, no, Councillor
Make an
Williams.
amendment.
Yeah, he was next. He had his hand up first, sorry.
I just had a couple of questions to clarify, please. How many bins are in the facility?
Anyone have an answer?
Maybe 100?
Okay. And how many?
That's a guess. I'm not an expert.
100 big bins.
No, they're not. No. Okay. Visual thing. It's about this wide. Each bin is this wide and this high.
It's really big with a lid.
It's a really big, really big.
Yeah.
That's what I
320
said.
litres, so
Yes.
it's a...
And there is also a sign that says domestic waste only, and there's cameras, so
So
everyone does the
Well,
right
you
thing.
got to read on.
we have 100
Yeah.
bins.
Maybe 80 to 100.
take.
I'm really doing quick girl maths
Yeah.
in my head.
How
It's
many,
not good.
how many people?
I asked that question earlier.
How many people have subscribed? How many property owners have subscribed to use the facility?
See, now we've come back full, I'm sorry, we've come back full circle. I was
Yeah.
under the impression
Yeah.
suddenly we had giant bins and everyone
Sorry.
threw their shit in and now it's
Councillors,
individual.
we're in debate. Your question is, well, take that on notice, don't have the answer to it today.
Okay, because
Moving on.
the reason I'm asking the question is that it is commonly stated in the region that the code to the facility is widely shared.
Are you asking a question or are you debating?
I'm trying to understand whether or not, do we have like 10 customers and 100 bins and they're always full? In which case,
We'll take it on notice and we'll
all
come
the
back
other
to you.
people must be different to John, right? How widespread of a code sharing issue do we have? Because it goes to the equity matter. That
I'm going to be asking for it tonight.
Thank you.
I can give it to you.
Councillor Ray, you're debating
I've got an amendment to the motion.
amendment. Okay.
And this is to make it more generic, that council investigate the operation and the satisfaction by residents with the Micheloggo bank of bins and report back to council.
Thank you. I accept that.
Okay,
Hold on.
slow it down for a second then.
Hold on.
I have a question.
Yeah, so can you repeat that? Sorry, let me get
The
Councillor Higgins. I'll just get him to put this motion up and then I'll come back to you.
that council investigate the operation and satisfaction by residents with the Micheloggo bank of bins and report back to council.
Councillor Thaler, are you happy with that change? And Councillor Williamson, are you happy with that change? You're the seconder.
Sure. Sounds great.
All right. And report back to council. Councillor Higgins.
This looks very, very similar, almost identical now, to the motion that I put up in Jindabyne. Was it no, it was Bombala. It was Bombala council meeting about 2 years ago, maybe. And I was told that rather than do this investigation, it was going to be part of business as usual as far as part of the midterm review of the waste management strategy. I don't mind voting for it again because, hey,
The waste
get there
management
quicker.
strategy is stalled and I've actually foreshadowed that motion will come in April.
Yeah,
to bring
we've
the waste
spoken that we're bringing that back. Yes. Yes, correct.
And that's where it should go.
That's what
Yeah.
should go.
Yeah.
Report back to council with the addition of words by the end of May 2025.
So now we're doing something outside of that.
As part of. It'll
Sorry. No, this will not be part of. Will be separate because it will be a different thing.
Is that timeline, Mr. Mayor, is it too difficult?
Yeah, that's fine.
By May 2025, by the end of May
Yeah.
2025.
Let's just move on.
Someone keeps smashing the building.
Councillor Thaler. Yes, Councillor.
I'm voting for it.
Oh, I haven't had two people speak against yet, so I can't put it to motion yet.
I would just speak against it.
I'll speak against it.
Sorry, no, I'm at 4.
Oh.
Do I have someone speaking for the recommendation? No. Councillor Thaler, would you like to write a reply?
Can I speak against it?
Oh, sure. Sorry, I thought you already spoke. Sure, go for it.
Well, look,
It's an amendment.
I speak against it on the basis that this raises a cloud over the future of the Mikalago bins. It's an implied threat to the future provision of that valued service to the community. People will be asking, why do you need to do this if you weren't thinking of shutting it down, which was Councillor Thaler's original motion.
I wasn't.
So we know we wanted to shut it.
Sorry, point of order.
Sorry.
You can't mischaracterise what I said. I've never said shut it down. Please take me to the words in my motion that indicate that, Mr. Rooney.
I'll bring it up.
I have-
Confirm that.
I have that concern.
Wait a second.
Investigate and bring a report to
Sorry.
council prior to the Act 125 into the issues, needs and costs of relocating the bin from within the town centre to a more amenable location in concurrence with the residents and users of the service and their needs, hold expending any funds on the
Yeah,
current.
so it doesn't actually say to close it down.
Why would you want to do that if you didn't want
It
to?
doesn't. Anyway, we're continuing on with your debate.
Yes, well, as I say, it's an implied threat to the future of the Mikalago Bank of Bins.
Point of order. It is not an implied threat.
Well, that's
It-
your opinion,
Sorry,
Councillor.
Councillor
What's
Councillor
the statement
Thaler,
from
sorry.
reply?
I will rule on the right of
Yes,
reply,
Mr. Mayor, of course.
and
Yes,
it is
Mr. Mayor.
not ruled because that is not a point of order. He is actually just saying his opinion, and that is the debate to say this is what the community will feel. So your point of order is overturned. Continue.
I'm also concerned that this will lead to further delays in the necessary repair of the bank of bins. And
Point of order. It's a deliberate mischaracterisation of the debate. The CEO has said that they will happily start work on this, repairing the facility tomorrow. We all heard that, Mr. Rooney.
that was to a previous motion, Councillor.
Sorry,
Taylor.
councillors,
I
councillors.
haven't had the opportunity to put the question to the CEO whether he would commence repairs immediately. I'll do so now.
Yes.
Mr. CEO, will you commence repairs if, in the event that this motion was passed, which I hope it doesn't, would it cause any delays to your repair of the bank of bins in Mikalago?
We'd issue instructions for repairs to commence as soon as practical. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. CEO.
Continue.
Well, I will conclude my remarks.
Okay. Thank
In
you.
the interest of saving time.
Councillor Thaler, would you like a right of reply?
Yes, I do thank councillors for trying to get to the bottom of it. This is now going to turn into a question of equity because we've now determined in a roundabout way, ineloquently maybe, that this does need to be looked at. My impression would be that each residential property that is paying for a bin and a recycle bin has the expectation of the full use of that bin. My feedback and the requests to me from many, actually not just one or two or three, but quite a few community users, is that there is a growing and creeping frustration that when they go to this facility, bins are full. We have some evidence anecdotally from an expert who uses it that he has encountered the bins overflowing and full. So therefore, there's a problem. Having a report, investigating the operation and satisfaction. There is clearly a problem with this facility. It's not been damaged once, it's been damaged multiple times. Heard Councillor Higgins say the lock gets glued shut.
By the same person.
Councillor,
I don't think we should go there.
councillors, please continue.
As somebody that lives 100 kilometres away from Mikalago, I don't have that information, but what I do hear is repeated reports of malicious damage. I was told it was $120,000 to repair the latest damage. So we can spend $120,000 and we can have it, we can go and cut the ribbon and reopen it and it's damaged again. What is the underlying problem causing someone or people to damage this facility? So the question is well argued, well debated. I think we can all accept there are questions remaining. My question would be one of equity. Are the people who pay getting their equitable entitlement, and are other people receiving an over-equitable entitlement because it appears to be a different version than the standard bank of bin that we have in other areas around the Shire? So I commend the motion to actually help us get clarity and closure, and maybe this will be the last time it's damaged. But if it is damaged again, I'm just trying to help communities that I don't live in. That's what I'm trying to do. So I appreciate your assistance.
Thank you. With that, I put the motion. All those in favour of the recommendation that's on the board. Councillor Williamson, Councillor Rose and Councillor Thaler. All those against. Councillor Summers, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Rooney, Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Davis, Councillor Hannah. Motion's lost. Moving on, now going on to 8.1.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to move a procedural motion, and that is that we limit the number of for and against in debates about motions to 2 for and 2 against, with a 3-minute right of reply maximum, to try and just hasten us through this process.
No, we can change. I'll just confirm. I know you can change the length of the debate, so from 3 minutes to 3 minutes. Sorry, 5 minutes to 3 minutes.
Sorry,
I just want to double check saying.
I don't think you can change the right of reply, but you can change the
debate.
time. For the
That's
debate.
what I'm saying, the debate. But I don't think the right of reply. So I just want to confirm that.
We'll just have a look at that.
Yeah. And 2 for and 2 against. I'm happy with that. I think that's right.
I suppose it's just in the
I just don't know if
interest
I
of
can.
getting some business done. We've got an
A lot
hour
of
and a half
things.
done. And,
Correct.
and
Turns out my instincts were correct.
I know you can put the motion which says 2 and 2. Just, I don't think the right of reply you can change.
Turn it into something that wasn't again. So that's all right.
So we can't be happy.
Yes, yes, they will, because they've been making most important big things. Most important thing in the world. Yeah, Michael has become the centre of the universe, don't we?
You can reduce the speakers, the amount, the time.
Speakers, I think it is. I've got to find it.
Yeah.
can reduce it.
And you, yeah, sorry, councillors, you're back at the table. It doesn't actually clearly say yes or no, so it counts.
I've got to find it. My view is that it says speakers can be limited.
Yes, I know that.
Right reply and.
Yeah.
What it says.
But if the council are also happy with it, then I'm happy with that. So we'll just have to get it up there. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Another debate.
Councillors, so it's a procedural motion.
Procedural motion, so we just put it, then got it.
Councillors, please, excuse me, we will get it on the board and then we'll vote on it. And if it's up, then we'll continue with that. So it's that council reduces the time of the speakers from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Councillor Rose, is that what you're saying?
I wanted to reduce the number of for and against to 2 and 2 rather than 3 and 3. So, but I'm happy with that too.
This talks generally about speeches.
Speeches, yeah.
Time, so that's right.
From 5 to 3, and then can you reduce the amount of people who talk?
You can limit it to 2.
Limit it to 2 people for and 2 against before the motion is put.
So that already happens anyway, as long as someone puts the motion.
You
need
have
2 and
2
2.
each, and then you can put
the motion. Yeah, I can put the motion up to 2 and 2. So it's really, that's not really changing anything. It's more the fact being the 5 to 3.
Correct. Up to 2 speakers.
For and against.
Yes, that works.
We've had that in place, but we don't use them, and that's fair.
The
3 minute one we will put in place if this motion gets up, councillor.
Don't go below 2. You can't limit it below 2.
Correct, yeah, it has to be 2 and 2. Yes.
I don't believe you can do it for the mover introducing the motion or the right of reply. I think it's only for those speaking for and against.
No, this will change. So everybody that talks will only have 3 minutes.
I don't think you can do that under the code of meeting conduct.
The wording is, the council may resolve to shorten the duration of speeches to expedite the consideration of business.
No, he's talking about the mover. Can the mover be reduced to 3 minutes?
So it's shortening the duration of speeches and there's no limitation.
That's not
All right, all those in favour? So this is only to change it from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, and then to have only 2 speakers for and 2 speakers against, and then the motion will be, the right of reply and the motion will be put.
Except for open and tonight, or just
for the current meeting.
For this current meeting, only for this meeting, not for the future.
Oh,
Just this meeting.
This current meeting.
update the code of meeting practice.
All those in favour, hands up, please, councillors. Councillor Summers, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Rose, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Davis, What did I say? Hopkins
I was voting twice.
and Councillor Hannah. All those against. It's a long day. So
This is about-
Councillor Elliott, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Rooney, Councillor
Listen to
Taylor.
Councillor Thaler's long speeches.
All right. So councillors, just to refer to you now have 3 minutes to talk in your debate, and we will stop it after 2 and 2. So please just give me a second to change my time. I'm going to do that. There you go. All right, we're moving on. Councillor Rose, your motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Can I get a? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Thaler. I'm assuming so. You wanted to move your motion.
I was hoping you'd read it out for me.
I can't see that from there, so no, I'm going to say no. You can't read it out.
Okay, so
I'm getting my eyes checked in the next couple of weeks.
So, Mr. Mayor, the motion is that all correspondence from the dates 1st of the 9th 24 to the 31st of the 1st 25 between the council staff and councillors and both the Office of Local Government and the Minister of Local Government in relation to concerns regarding, first dot point, the anticipated or actual performance of the new council, second dot point, issues of councillor misconduct, third dot point, the minister's intention to issue a performance improvement order, and final dot point, all correspondence by staff and councillors subsequent and in relation to the proposed PIO be made available to councillors in a timely manner and prior to the next general meeting of the council.
Thank you.
So thanks, Mr. Mayor, and I'll just address this motion, which is one of the most important motions, I think, to come before the council in a long time, because I appreciate Mr. Dunshay's email provision of the letter written by Mr. Hogan, the previous CEO, but it raises serious governance issues for the council. Actually, it's a shocking email, and no wonder it featured on the front page of the Monaro Post a few weeks ago. The email from Mr. Hogan has the subject line, Snowy Monaro issue escalates. It was written on the 2nd of October, 6 days before the CEO's resignation and 8 days before our first council meeting. And the email was sent to Louise Thaler, who's in the Office of Local Government, John Davies, who's the Manager of Council Governance for OLG, and Ian Lancaster, who works for Safe Work New South Wales. And the text of the letter from Mr. Hogan reads, I've been able to decipher this with the help of Egyptian hieroglyphics experts because it's very hard to read in the text. Please note the social media post by blank, presumably Andrew Thaler. The post says, I have been elected today a councillor to the Snowy Monaro Regional Council. I shall become a councillor. Please come along to witness this event. We are stronger together. I will not let the corrupt media prevent the people from having their elected representative taking up the role and doing things that need to be done. Not even 2GB nor Fairfax media can stop this. Now, I went to the trouble of showing this email to a number of reasonable people, which is a term used by the minister, and none could detect any threat in that email. However, the CEO then, Mr. David Hogan, was clearly in an unreasonable state of mind because he said, Dear all, please note the social media post by Mr. Thaler below. He is organising a rally of supporters to attend the Snowy Monaro Regional Council building day. This clearly articulates a threat to witness the event. We are meeting with the police at 10 a.m. and already have security on site and intend to lock the council building down from 1 p.m. to protect the staff or have staff leave and work from home after lunch. Now, quite clearly, his behaviour is going to worsen on his election, he says. Well, how would this be? He goes on to say, I urge OLG consider immediate suspension of the council or this individual on the basis this is unacceptable behaviours of an elected councillor. A suspension of council to allow for additional safety and security review and allow time for additional security measures to be in place is warranted and seek the New South Wales government's support in doing so. Can we arrange a time to discuss this? Now, this is a very serious issue and we have no knowledge of it. And a proposal was going before to the minister where the CEO had no authority to do so. So I believe that this is a very serious indictment of
Thank you,
council
Councillor.
behaviour.
Thank you.
And then
Sorry, councillor, it was your, councillors,
You wanted.
this is your, sorry,
Voted
councillor.
against it, Councillor Rose.
That's it. Your time is done. Sorry, councillor.
I'm trying to help you out.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll do my right.
Thank you.
We tried to help him, man.
I had to do that one, councillor Rose, I'm sorry. Do I have someone speaking against?
I think we need to amend the motion, if that's okay, because I don't think it actually reads in the way that my colleague has suggested it does. So what I would like to suggest, Councillor Rose, is that the words be made available to council laws in a timely manner. That actually relates to all the bullet points, not just the last one.
Correct.
So could I suggest that we take those words and move them after the last bullet point, because as it reads, it only pertains to that last bullet point.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
That's not the way I read it, but I'll take your suggestion, Councillor Williamson. I'm happy with that.
Thank you.
Do you have someone speak against?
No.
Oh,
Sorry, are we dealing with the amendment I've just raised?
yeah, it's behind you and he's accepted it.
Okay, so need to be seconded?
No. Oh, sorry. Yes, Councillor Thaler, would you accept that? Sorry, Councillor Williamson.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Stewart. Are you debating Councillor Rooney?
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'll
speak
That's not the amendment.
what I'm committed to.
That's not the amendment.
Sorry, what was the amendment?
So there's a fourth bullet point, which commences with that all correspondence
That's what was there originally.
regarding all correspondence.
Yeah,
It's a bullet point.
Yeah.
Full stop after PIO.
No, the second one down. Yeah.
So, and the next sentence should be the above being made available to councillors in a timely manner.
Thanks, Councillor Williamson.
Councillor Thaler, are you happy with that?
Thank you.
And all correspondence now becomes a bullet point.
Yeah. Are you question?
A question for you.
Question, yes, Councillor Summers.
Has that question not been answered already by the CEO in the following couple of paragraphs?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. What's provided in the CEO's response is the outcome of our review, searching for all correspondence within that date. So it identified one piece of correspondence that has been provided in the business paper. So there's nothing more to provide.
Thank you. Councillor Rooney, your
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I will speak against this motion on a number of grounds. Firstly, look, this is so 2024. I mean, there's some water under the bridge. I mean, who cares about it now? Partly perhaps Councillor Thaler. Well, this is just another instalment in the Councillor Thaler reality TV show that we all find ourselves swept up in. And I think it's time we put it behind us. It's no longer relevant. It's not even very interesting any longer. And secondly, I would suggest, councillors, there's no point to this motion. It's a big nothing burger because there is only one piece of correspondence that would be unearthed if this motion was passed. And the CEO has kindly provided it in his comments here. Thank you, Mr. CEO. So you have the information you're seeking. There it is. What are you going to do with it? Personally, I yawn because I've seen it so many times before. Of what relevance or usefulness or interest is it worth us digging into this issue continuously? So look, I say, councillors, look, we just forget about all this. Councillor Thaler's here. He's a valued member of this council. I love listening to his lengthy speeches, which should be cruelly foreshortened, councillors, by your ill-considered, undemocratic motion to censor him. And I think we should just ignore this very, very wise, I suppose, to do so. So Councillor Rose, while I appreciate you wanting to raise this again, to once again put the focus back on Andrew Thaler, Councillor Thaler, whom we may have been neglecting for 5 minutes. I just don't think it's necessary.
This is not saying that, is it?
I think it's all about Andrew, yes.
It's, sorry,
Councillor Thaler, I mean.
councillors, it's not. It's about all feedback, but you have received that. It's there in the business paper. Sorry, all right. So you finished, Councillor Rennie?
In the interest of brevity, I will conclude my remarks. Yes.
Thank you.
Just a question.
Question.
So David Hogan wrote, Mr. Hogan wrote the correspondence as provided. Was there any correspondence in return?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we didn't identify any, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stewart, were you for?
But yeah, well, I am in that if I'm reading this motion right, is that there mightn't be much more to come through this process of the PIO, but this is saying, or what I'm saying, if I'm reading it right, and what Councillor Rose I think was trying to achieve is that if there's any correspondence that he has going into the OLG or the minister, it should come back to council.
No.
Am I reading that right?
No, sorry. It's,
so-
sorry, just to clarify, the motion is only between those certain dates that he wants, that Councillor Rose is asking for. So it's not future. It's not future. It's only between the 1st of the 9th, 2024 and the 31st of the 1st, 2025. And if any council, staff member or councillor has written to the Minister of Local Government, or the Office of Local Government, we provide that. The CEO has just indicated that he's provided that information already to you. It's in the business paper. They can only find one email trail. So it's there. So if this motion gets up, the question I've got is what else is going to come? Like, what do you do? What's the process? Because you've got the information.
Through Mr. Mayor, nothing. There's nothing more to do. We've done the search. We've provided it. So in terms of outstanding actions, as we discussed earlier in the meeting, this one would be closed.
Thank you.
Proposed amendment, Chair.
Amendment?
Yeah, I
Sorry,
wonder,
councillors.
I wonder if Councillor Rose would consider changing the 310125 to 310325, and that might then capture some of the discussion that we know there has been between the CEO and the Deputy Secretary in respect of the PIO, where there is apparently either verbal or email exchanges about the way that we
accept
report.
that amendment. Thanks, Councillor Thaler. And Mr. Mayor, I've just got a question. I suppose it's quite an important question because, as we know, the Minister of Local Government wrote on the 16th of December that he said councillors indicated that it requires assistance to manage the issues related to councillor misconduct. Now, given the fact that council hadn't discussed or proposed a motion along that line, how was it that that sentence came into the Minister's letter? Because there must be correspondence that indicated that council required that assistance.
It's in that email.
I can't answer what the Minister wrote or why he wrote that, but what you asked for, the CEO has given to you. I can't, fortunately, it's what it is. Now you've changed the dates. We can potentially go and have a look at those dates. But, I think, I don't know what we're going to gain out of it. But
I suppose the crucial phrase, Mr. Dunshea is a very clever guy, and he said that may be relevant. And I suppose that's the phrase that concerns me, that the issue is that he says the only correspondence identified that may be relevant. I would like to have look for them and to do another search and look at all correspondence, because I just think there's been a filtering process here. There's got to be more correspondence than this particular, with such a serious letter coming by the CEO to council, and we've got ongoing security costs associated with that letter that continues to this day. I think it's a very serious issue that we haven't properly identified or understood. So that's the issue.
Thank you.
And I'm happy for you to put the motion, Mr Mayor, if that's okay. So,
No, I can't.
okay.
Sorry, I've got one more person talk against. And if no one talks against, then you have your right to reply.
Well, I'll talk against it then on the basis of, I will talk against the motion and that I will say it doesn't go far enough. So I will vote for it. I love doing this for the purposes of the debate. And it's not a fishing expedition. As the person that is at the centre of this whole mess and reported in the media, can you calm yourself? You okay? You need a breath?
Councillor Thaler, continue.
This letter is not just outrageous to me, but to those members in the gallery and who are watching, who came and watched me quite lawfully swear myself in on the footpath outside the General Manager's office. There was no threat, there was no risk, and there was no need for the General Manager at the time's hysteria. What I said in my Facebook post was very simple and very basic. Come and watch me get sworn in. Happens to be I was the first person in New South Wales to be sworn in by a GP, and we've had this discussion that it benefited other people in other councils. The issue is certain members of this table have egged on the government to issue a PIO in furtherance of an agenda. And
that is not substantiated at all. And Councillor Thaler needs to keep the fact.
Are you applying wrongdoing on this council, Councillor Thaler?
yes, because the General Manager has written this letter without lawful authority.
You cannot do wrongdoing on this council if you read the PIO. That's a breach of the PIO.
Write a code of conduct. I don't give a shit.
And
Honestly.
Councillor, sorry.
That's what you just did.
No.
Other code of conduct. No,
Councillor Thaler.
all this debate about
Sorry.
code of
Councillor
conduct, code of
Thaler.
conduct. It's accurate disorder. Good on you.
You just swore in a council
Yes.
meeting. So sorry, Councillor Thaler.
I keep getting
Councillor Thaler.
interrupted. That's
Councillor
what
Thaler.
happens.
Well, that's what happens in point of audits.
Oh, you as well.
No, Councillor Thaler, you will retract your email, your statement of the swearing and apologise for swearing in public.
Happy to apologise for swearing.
And retract it.
I hope you accept my frustration that I get interrupted and cut off
Retract
constantly.
the word.
I retract the word.
Thank you.
Should he also retract the statement that there has been some kind of
Conspiracy.
Yes,
whatever?
I think Councillor Thaler, that's a matter for me to determine.
Yeah.
Councillor Thaler, you cannot state wrongdoing on this council when you do not have the evidence of it. Okay, it is clear in the PIO that you cannot do that. So please stick to the motion.
I'm sticking to the motion. I'm saying
Saying it's wrongdoing.
doesn't go far enough. I believe there would be more information. It is simply untenable that the CEO at the time wrote to Louise Thaler, who was a lawyer within OLG, and we were told that there was legal advice provided by OLG, that we spoke to the person as a manager of governance, John Davies, and we spoke to Ian Lancaster from WorkSafe, and that there was advice given to us in various meetings that WorkSafe gave us advice with respect to being safe and whatever else, but we didn't get a reply from the lawyer at OLG. It's just simply untenable. And the idea that maybe we got replies, but they were in phone calls. So if we have ventured forth on the basis of telephone advice, then we've not documented and we're potentially in breach of the State Records Act. So it's time to be more honest in the conversations that have been had. You can sit and grin at me all you like, Councillor Summers. You can.
Are you complaining about me smiling?
Sorry, councillors, you've got 35 seconds, Councillor Thaler.
This motion doesn't go far enough. The last thing I'll say is that we actually passed a motion in 2024 asking for these documents. This document was only given to us recently in February. This document should have been provided last year. When we did our first request for relevant documents, this was not produced. And it was only produced in February upon the more recent motion from Councillor Rose. That is a fact. We asked for all documents and all legal advice, and we did. And this is what triggered the whole consequence of things. He's writing to a lawyer. This was a relevant document. It was not provided.
Thank you, Councillor Thaler. Just to put some facts out there, Louise Thaler is not a lawyer of the OLG, so that's incorrect. We provided, you asked for all relevant legal advice, and that was provided to you. That council did. This is not legal advice.
And I'm sorry, but if you look up Louise Thaler, it says OLG and lawyer.
No, sorry, I apologise.
I'll give you a mobile number.
I'm happy to take that on notice and I'll confirm that with Mrs. Thaler, but I can tell you now, the motion that was carried back then, it was for legal advice, and that is what we did. This is not legal advice.
We were
Councillor Rose, would you like a right of reply?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think it was very amazing to hear Councillor Rooney talk about this. Is so 2024, actually, only saying three months ago, John. So, but anyway, I take the point. It's now 2025, and I think the reason why this is important for today is because this letter is the basis of the PIO that was moved by the Minister. That is, back in October, there was a motion moved, there was a letter written to the various people at OLG that must have made its way to the Minister, saying the council shouldn't even be allowed to sit. Now, that's a very serious thing for a CEO to do. And I think that we need to get to the bottom of it. And I have the sense that there's been a screening process and we haven't received all the correspondence. So I'm sure that the staff are doing their best to assist, but I know that Mr. Dunshea is capable of trying harder because he's one of those sorts of guys that is always trying hard. So I really just think we owe it to the community, we owe it to this council, because we've got such important governance responsibilities to deal with, and yet we've got a situation where a letter was written essentially to the Minister, because the Minister is the only person that can actually suspend the council or stop us from sitting. So there was an attempt to stop this council from sitting, and it's a very serious attempt. There's also because of an indication by the CEO that he was obviously in a state of mind that wasn't good, because he felt there was a threat, which I couldn't detect in the letter, and any reasonable person I've put up has been able to see a threat. We've kept on paying for security to be available at these meetings for the reason that we can't understand. I think this is serious. We need to get to the bottom of it. I'm sure that there's more correspondence, and I think we just need to get it. So I'd like to just commend the motion. If there's nothing further along these lines, we've extended the date. We've got a responsibility and obligation to see that information, because that is our obligation as councillors under section 232 and 223 of the Acts. So thanks, Mr. Mayor, and I'm just happy for the motion to be put.
Thank you. With that, I put the motion. All those in favour of the recommendation on the board? All those in favour of the recommendation that's on the board? Councillor Williamson, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Rose, Councillor Thaler. All those against? Councillor Summers, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Rooney, Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Davis, Councillor Hannah. Motion lost. Moving on, 8.2. Councillor Rose?
Yes.
Councillor Rose, your motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the motion is that all payments made by the council to residents impacted by the Snowy No. 1 reservoir failure, as well as the authority for these payments approved by relevant staff councillors or staff or councillors in the period between the 1st of the 1st 2020 and the 31st of the 1st 2025 be provided confidentially and with appropriate action to councillors. The information is
Do I have a seconder?
to be provided to councillors in a timely manner and at the latest by May. Wanted to change it to by the May, because this has gone on, Mr. Mayor, this motion for a while, for a few months, to the May 2025 general meeting of the council.
All right, Councillor Thaler was a seconder. Councillor Rose, your 3 minutes.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. One of the things I think it was important to go back to our oath or affirmation, which was to undertake the duties of councillor in the best interest of the people and to be faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers and authorities and discretions under the Local Government Act or any other act. And I also note that doyen of the Labor Party, Peter Primrose MLC, when he was Shadow Minister, said that with regard to the latest version of the Model Code, which was just coming out then, it's increasingly becoming evident that local councillors are being viewed in the same way as members of corporate boards. The difference, of course, is that councillors are elected by local constituents and have mandates to pursue often conflicting agendas. Of course, they have corporate responsibilities, but their first responsibility, said Mr. Primrose, in a democracy is to the people who elected them and not to a majority on a council corporation. So I stand with Mr. Primrose in this situation because I feel as though we haven't got to the bottom of the story of payments and the situation with this water tank collapse. Now, the interim CEO stated that there was a figure of 500,000 was provided by GIPA, but he didn't say this figure was inaccurate. He states that the council has spent so far $397,000. However, there are a lot of sums that may not have been included because I know for a fact, because I've seen the detail, there was 70,000 spent solely on a car hire for one person affected by the tank. So I think the issues here really are that we need to look into the story of the expenditure much more closely. Councillor Williamson has stated previously from notes he took contemporaneously that there was $3.2 million paid out in relation to the water tank. It seems to me that it's likely that we had insufficient insurance to cover the issues that were dealt with, that there's been payments made in excess of the areas, because I've looked through the motions of previous councillors, nothing to indicate that the amount of money that's being paid out even approaches these sums of money. So we need to get to the bottom of what's actually been paid out and to whom it's been paid, confidentially, of course. So I really feel that as a matter of priority, we need to get to understand what's been paid on whose authority. It's actually our obligation as councillors under the story of the oath of office is taken, and actually also under the relevant parts of the Act, which are sections 232 and 223. So this is quite a simple motion. The only reason to vote against this is because there's something to hide or you don't believe in transparency. So I commit the motion to you.
Thank you.
Just a clarification.
Yes.
Point of order from
Sorry, point of order.
Suggesting that voting against this is because you have something to hide is casting aspersions on the body of councillors, and I think that should be withdrawn.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I wouldn't want to cast any aspersions on any of the councillors.
Withdraw that comment then.
Oh, which is a comment that I was
We
have something to hide.
We have something to
vote
hide.
against it.
look, I withdraw that comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, just clarification on this motion from Councillor Rose is that I thought at that extraordinary meeting we had over the water tank that we moved to get those reports monthly till it was finalised, and when it should be going, and here we have on 6.13. Isn't that one of the reports that are coming, or am I reading?
No, so sorry, Councillor Williamson, I'll answer the question. This will be on old claims, not outstanding claims. So this is claims that have already been paid out to people, if there is, all that kind of stuff. So it's stuff that. So this motion is only for old claims that have already been paid out back 2000 and. Sorry, Councillor Williamson, can you move your 2020 to 2025? So 5 years.
Controversy over those payments that have been paid out?
They're paid out of the water fund and we don't have any detail of it, Bob.
No, paid out of insurance.
Most of it was paid out of insurance, but what they're asking for is all details of everything that has been paid already. So not new claims, old claims that have already been paid.
And the information that the council are trying to find out is whether it was from insurance or from the water fund. You said put on together. Well, that'd be good.
No, that's not the question.
That wasn't what we would provide, no.
So if I could just help Councillor Stewart, the motion is that all payments made, because Councillor Stewart, I think you heard that Councillor Williamson said his notes indicated that $3.2 million was indicated to have been paid out, but no one knows where that came from or what it was for. So we've got an obligation to find out where that money came from.
Can I get some more? Ask another.
Yes.
What would be the work and the cost to go through and get all that? Is it a big job? It wouldn't be that big a job to get those figures for us.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I can just clarify that.
Yeah.
There's many claims the insurance company have dealt with. Yep. We're not privy to those agreements, the confidentiality agreements between the insurance company and the claimants. We're not part of that. As I mentioned earlier, we paid our excess for this event of $20,000 and the insurance company has dealt with everything else. Yep. This payment's been made by the council to contractors, to suppliers for works that were undertaken, emergency works undertaken at the time. I'm aware that there were hire cars provided, and whatever those figures are. That information is retrievable. We can find that. The $3 million figure that is not money that we have paid out in relation to the event. The $3 million, as mentioned in the CEO's note there, is a figure that was discussed or recorded in a meeting relating to what's the cost of this event. And my understanding from the research that Mr. Hogan has, Mr. Rawlings has done, is that $3 million included an estimate to replace the water tank, which is the matter that's currently in the budget for $5 million to replace. So I don't know really what else I'm looking for here with this motion, apart from 3 payments that I have agreed to, which I've provided details to you in relation to those outstanding claims. I don't know how many other above insurance agreement claims that may have come to council, that the council has incurred costs over and above what the insurance company and the claimant agreed. So to answer your question, what work is involved here, I really don't know. I don't know how many of those over and above payments, over and above the insurance amount, were done. The only ones that I'm aware of are the 3 that I have settled, and the outstanding claim now, which is with the insurance company. I don't know whether Mr. Rawlings has any further information that would answer Councillor Stewart's question, the extent of work involved.
I'm just trying to get, would there be any chance of just getting a figure that what the, after the insurance and we don't get involved with the insurance, but what the payout or the cost has come to council?
That's provided in the CEO attachment there.
Yeah,
There's a figure that I've dealt with, in my time here, of $39,150. Yep, that's the matters that I've dealt with. The other figure is $397,000. The amount council has spent so far is approximately $397,000. So what's behind that $397,000? It's in the book somewhere. We could go back over 5 years through the accounts over the last 5 years and identify what that is. There is work involved in that, but it is retrieved
through the ring and move on.
Do I have someone speaking against the recommendation? Councillor Hogan. Sorry.
I'd like to move an amendment.
Yes.
I'd like to move an amendment to make it April 2025, given that it's no longer March.
Thanks. Councillor, would you like to accept that amendment?
Councillor Hopkins, would you like to talk against?
Yes, look, I must admit I agree with Councillor Stewart. There seems to, a lot of this seems to be based on almost a bit of a misunderstanding as to, what the $3 million is. And I feel it's been clarified. And as Councillor Stewart said, we've sort of, everything seems to be really clearly laid out. And I'm not sure what else we need to know and why. It's very clear that the whole event cost about $3 million. That there's no dispute on that. And that includes obviously the cost of the tank. And it's very clear that council has spent about $397,000. I don't really want to know that resident A received $10,000 and resident B received $15,000. I think that is none of our business. And also people have had claims with their personal insurers, claims with councillors' insurers and personal settlements with council. It was a terrible event and it was a tragic event. And I agree that council needed to do all that they could to ensure that that people were safe and that the area was cleaned up. That has been done. And the figures here are very, very clear. The whole event cost about $3 million. That explains Councillor Williamson's notes that it wasn't $3 million paid out to residents. It's the whole cost was $3 million. I can't see how more clear we could make that. The amount that council has spent is $397,000. Again, really clearly shown. So I'm sorry, I don't understand the point of supporting this motion and digging It's almost looking like a fishing exercise. I must admit, I can't understand what the point of this is and what we are trying to achieve. The answers have all been provided and it's really, really clear.
Thank you. Do I have someone speaking for the recommendation? Councillor Thaler.
Well, Councillor Hopkins, it is actually, it's about trust. Do we trust the information we've been given? I don't. And I say that because we, in the previous motion, found a document that I believe should have been provided much closer to the original request. The problem is we do not believe we've been told the correct information. And when we were in a meeting several months,
We should be I believe. You can't speak for other people.
It's not a point of order.
It's what part of the meeting? code of
Councillor
conduct
Williamson, I will handle the point of orders. You don't need to interrupt.
I'll raise mine in a minute.
We believe.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's actually not a point of order.
Big open closed drawers.
Continue, Councillor Thaler.
there are still people who have not received compensation and had their property fixed. And she was on the news and she came to the meeting and she tried to contact the council and basically felt intimidated. So one way to solve the problem is to find out who was compensated and it's a net balance who wasn't. We also put up motions that we should check for asbestos and that was voted down because that would be conferring a private benefit, which was found to be particularly outrageous by many members of the community. We can't just pretend it didn't happen and we can't just say, oh, I think we've done okay. We did a really terrible job, we did a really terrible thing, and we have not finished with this matter. I say there is still asbestos under these properties. I say there are still people who have not been compensated and were damaged, and it would be incumbent on us to actually ask them to come in and sit down and say, how can we help you? They don't have confidence, they don't feel confident, they're scared. Our job's not to scare them, our job's to help them. And it's not even a big amount. So I'll again ask if we can organise that meeting and help this family come and sit down with you and say, this is what we would like. And is that something that we can do? This is a way to get to the bottom of the problem. We have not got to the bottom of the problem. We keep wanting to gloss over it. Oh, it's in the past. Oh, it's so 2024. It is not the way to run an organisation. You need to be clear, factual, honest. We also only found out recently that the claims were being paid out of the water fund. We didn't know that for the first 5 months. I didn't for the first 5 months of being here. We can't ask questions that, because we're not mind readers. That caught us as a surprise. And then the question naturally turned, was it appropriate? Did it need to have a resolution of council to spend money from a restricted reserve? Each time we press, we end up with new questions. These are new questions. Let's, cards on the table, get to the bottom of this and make sure we don't leave anybody behind. It's one of the rules in the army. Never leave anyone behind, and at the moment we have.
Councillor Davis.
I note that this motion has actually been pulled together from some information that Councillor Williamson got in 2022 from a question he asked in a briefing regarding the water tanks. And the question was, how much did this issue cost? Didn't ask how much we spent.
Point of order. Point of order.
And referring to section 2.3, I think, of the Code of Meeting Practice. But the substance of my point of order is on what basis is the councillor stating that's the question I made? I know what question I asked because I had notes of it. I'm pretty certain you don't have notes of the question I asked.
It's in the document.
It's in the actual business paper.
Sorry, no one's come to me and asked what question did I ask.
In the business papers.
But yes, but that's not the question I asked.
Okay, sorry. So Councillor.
So no one's confirmed, just be absolutely clear. No one on the staff confirmed those quotes with me as being true and accurate. I can tell you they're not true and accurate. So, so please don't put words in my mouth.
Sorry, I have to rule. There is no 2.3, so where
Sorry,
are
I
you
was
talking?
working from memory. I'd have to go and find it, so.
But
Got the substance sorted out.
what councillor, I take that on board, councillor Williamson. However, councillor Davis is reading from the actual business paper that was appointed.
That's
So
not what
I
I
understand
said.
that and I appreciate that. So you've corrected that. So you'll continue on, but she's only reading the business paper.
Well, I was at that briefing and that's what I recall. Because in the actual expenditure within our confidential reports on legal costs, it said that we had spent 300 and at that time, $72,000 or something like that. That money was spent on the immediate response, cleaning up and making the tanks safe, and also supporting the community immediately after the event happened. The cost of this issue was approximately $3 million at the time. It has now been estimated at $5 million to replace the tank, and it's also probably includes a number of design factors in regard to the tank. There is no conspiracy here. There is nothing to hide. It was a terrible event, and we all acknowledge that it was a terrible event. But the council worked hard and diligently to try and address the issues as quickly as possible in a day where it was a catastrophic fire danger day and this town was under risk of fire. And that needs to be always considered into the decisions that were made by this council. This is just another fishing exercise on an issue that the community who live in Cooma North just want to go away. They have got on with their life and they just don't want to be continued to be reminded about it. And that comes from many communities.
Point of order.
Point of order.
That's not correct. There are people that have not been compensated whose properties was damaged.
What's your point of order?
That is a misleading statement. There is a family up there that have not received compensation. To say that the community of Cooma North want this to go away, there's a community up there that would like to have their property fixed. It's not a true statement.
I think she said most.
Most. She said most. She didn't say all people. She said most people. So I'll overturn that. Continue.
So I will be voting
Sorry.
against this motion. It is a ridiculous motion and yet again just a continuation of issues that have been resolved and wasting staff time and causing huge angst to some of the community in Cooma North. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williamson, you had a question?
I just want to clarify. I'm pretty confident I just heard Mayor Davis say that her recollection is that the meeting was briefed that we had spent $3 million.
No.
No, she never said that.
No.
Okay.
No.
I must have
Thank
missed
you.
it.
You said no.
The cost.
Yes, I understand that. You said no.
Yeah, we all heard you.
Councillor Rose, right to reply? Sorry, we changed the motion of 2 and 2 and I've had that.
So this was a question.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Sorry,
That's earlier.
I would like, if I could, the CEO to address, if there is one family that's still outstanding, for whatever reason, that we ask the CEO to at least, if they could address that.
That is what's happening.
That one family that, for whatever reason, hasn't come forward because they're too scared to.
It's up to them to make a claim.
But couldn't we, I don't know who this person is, but I must admit that surely we could reach out just to see if Councillor Thaler.
Make a claim.
We don't make a claim. Submit a
It
claim.
sounds like for whatever reason, this person isn't capable or is scared to. That's how I read this. I have no idea who.
They could reach, they could reach out to staff tomorrow.
Or go through the CEO, it's
But
very
can't
easy.
we reach out to that?
No, reach your insurance.
Councillor Rose, you right to reply.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think that there's certainly been some misunderstanding and it's certainly alarming to find that Councillor Davis uses a term like, this is a ridiculous motion. So it's so outrageous, really. It's probably even an infringement of the code of conduct. But, no motion is ridiculous as brought before this council because it's actually brought on behalf of a range of people. And this motion is a very important one.
I'll just school Councillor Davis in some of the issues of the Local Government Act. We are to direct and control the affairs of council, and we are to ensure that council acts honestly, efficiently and appropriately. Now, that may be news to you, Councillor Davis, but that's certainly in the Act. And I would like to just continue. Sorry.
That was a point of order. Sorry. Point of order. Sorry, Councillor Rose, I've got a point of order.
So Councillor Rose is asserting that I don't act honestly and diligently to my role, and that is not correct. I do. I take it very seriously.
Can you retract that she does not take it seriously?
No, Mr. Mayor, I won't retract what I said because what I said was factual. I said, this is what, this is what I said. Not what I said, just to reiterate, I said, under the Act, we are to direct and control the affairs of council and we're to act honestly, efficiently and appropriately.
And that is a surprise to Councillor Davis.
No, I said that may be news to Councillor Davis.
In saying that
So
he doesn't...
I'll retract and say this may not be news to Councillor Davis because it's clear that she does know that. But I think in terms of the impact of what we're doing, this motion is extraordinarily important because we don't know, we haven't got to the bottom of it. This has been an obfuscation exercise from the beginning, as far as I can see, looking back in the paper trail of the whole story. There's been an attempt to cover up what happened, and I can understand because some bad behaviours happened and some bad things happened to the community. But at the heart of the situation, we've got a problem with the issue of whether we have enough insurance. That's the first thing. And that was raised by Councillor Maslin back in 2021. So that was a significant issue. Do we have enough insurance? Now, there was an implication there that we may not have enough insurance. We still don't know where the money came from that was paid out, and we need to because it's our obligation as councillors. We're actually responsible. It says under 232, section 232(2) of the Act that we're to be accountable to the local community for the performance of the council. Now, the performance of the council has been bad in this situation because here we are 5 years on and the situation of the...
There is no factual evidence that the council's performance has been bad. The council performed its duties as required. There is no factual evidence.
There's absolute factual evidence, Mr. Mayor, because we've all received...
It's not really a point of order because it's your personal opinion, but I will just continue on. You've got a minute.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We've all received evidence that we've been written to by a resident that said that there was at least a period of over 12 months where there wasn't any communication with the council after the resident was concerned about what was being done here. So we've got a situation that's very serious. We've got a tank failure. We've got an insurance company change. We've been assured that we've got adequate insurance. We've got Councillor Williamson's motion coming up to deal with that as well. But the only way we can get to the bottom of this is to find out where the money has come from, to follow the money trail here. There's an issue of whether there was 3 million. There's been no talk about that, including the cost of the tank before. That suddenly came out of nowhere. We don't know what's happened, and we've got an obligation to act honestly, efficiently, appropriately, and to direct and control the affairs of council. We have to get to the bottom of this. This motion is simply to find out where the money has come from, what we've paid out, and to whom, without any names being included. So we just need to vote for this, and
with that, I put the motion. No. Sorry.
It's a question.
No, Councillor Thaler, once there's a right to reply, you cannot continue or ask a question.
I'm actually a question of keeping order at the meeting with respect to the Code of Meeting Practice Policy 15, and this is verging on a problem. If we go to 15 in the Code of Meeting Practice, points of order. 15.1, a councillor may draw the attention to the chairperson to an alleged breach of this code by raising a point of order. A point of order does not require a seconder. 15.2, point of order cannot be made with respect to adherence to the principles contained in clause 2.1. 15.3, a point of order must be taken immediately it is raised. The chairperson must suspend the business before the meeting and permit the councillor raising the point of order to state the provision of this code they believe has been breached. We haven't been doing that.
Sorry, I have to uphold or overturn, and I've overturned.
No, but what is the
state the provision of this code they believe has been breached.
We've spoken about this a number of times now, Councillor Williams, sorry, Councillor Thaler. We've put the motion, all those in favour of the motion, hands up, sorry. All in favour, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Rose and Councillor Thaler. All those against, Councillor Summers, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Rooney, Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Davis and Councillor Hannah. Motion has been lost. Do we need a little break? Break? Let's do
One more.
do one more and then we'll do a break. One more and then we'll break. I know. We'll continue on. No, all right, moving on, councillors. Councillor Rose, 8.3, full and accurate minutes.
Mr. Mayor, it appears that there's a number of councillors here who aren't interested in the requirements of the Local Government Act, but I will just bring this to people's attention again. This motion is very simple. The motion is that a subcommittee of councillors be appointed to review the current minutes keeping practices. Now, fortunately, I've made an amendment, but I've asked Trish to make those available. So, Trish, have you got that revised motion that you put up, which is after just getting a bit of advice from a few people, I've amended this to a little bit better. Oh. So that a subcommittee of councillors be appointed to review the current minute keeping practices to ensure compliance with section 375 of the Local Government Act 1993, which states, and I quote, the council must, that's Mr. Mayor,
yes,
must ensure that full and accurate minutes are kept of the proceedings of a meeting of the council. The subcommittee will be tasked with making detailed recommendations on how the committee can enhance or improve its minute keeping practices to fully comply with legislative requirements. The subcommittee shall consist of the CEO and 2 councillors who have experience in governance, transparency and meeting procedures. The members of the subcommittee will be appointed by council resolution and will ensure the review is conducted with a focus on improving the quality, accuracy and accessibility of the council minutes. The subcommittee will be required to report its findings and recommendations back to the council within 8 weeks of being appointed. Now, this is just a common sense motion, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have a seconder before we do debate? Councillor Thaler. So that is the motion now. So I'll just get it up there, Councillor Rose, before we debate. Councillor Thaler was the seconder. Councillor Rose, you have 3 minutes.
We've had some brief discussion about this previously, and the argument against this motion is that no other councils are doing it. They're just providing the motions and who voted for and against them. But we've already seen with a presentation from Mr. Carlano some, I think it was last month or the month before, of some issues around minutes, the lack of minutes, and even more importantly, that we're only required to keep recordings for 12 months. Now, it's impossible to actually see what's going on. If recordings disappear and we've just got the motions, there's no indication. Now, just tell you a fuller definition of minutes, a definition that's helpful. Basically, the local government regulation requires that there are details of each meeting moved and any amendments, the names of mover and seconder, and whether the motion and amendment was passed or lost. Now, that outlines the minimum requirements, but it does suggest that merely reporting motions may not suffice because the actual term is full and accurate minutes. Now, once the recordings disappear, all we've got is the motions. We've got no background. Now, full means all necessary details to reflect what transpired in the meeting, not just the outcome. And that includes any discussions, key points raised, rationales for decisions and dissenting views. And accurate means a faithful representation of the meeting's proceedings. So I think that's one of the key parts of those 2 things, full and accurate. Secondly, legislative and case law support. Basically, Section 8A of the Local Government Act highlights the need for councils to be transparent and accountable. If only motions are recorded, it limits public scrutiny and fails to fulfil the objective. Common law principles. Courts have stated and ruled in various cases that proper records of decision-making must include context, not just the final decisions. And then comparative legal interpretation. Other government bodies, for instance, state and federal parliament, Hansard's corporate governance frameworks. In fact, I've worked with a range of organisations. I've never seen anything where there was nothing recorded apart from the outcome. In terms of precedent and future reference, more detailed minutes will allow future councils and the public and legal bodies to understand how and why decisions were made, preventing misinterpretations. And it also helps to avoid legal challenges because a lack of detailed minutes may expose the council to administrative law challenges. So it's certainly that minutes can be brief. It's certainly important to actually find what's happened as far as debates. But it's clear that full and accurate minutes must include motions and resolutions, key discussion points and reasoning, dissenting views where relevant, and important public concerns raised. So this is just a simple motion. Again, it's about transparency, and I just urge councillors to vote this time for transparency.
Thank you. Do I have someone speaking against the recommendation? Yes.
Now that it's been noted that the CEO is suggested to be a member of the committee, I presume that resources are going to be required. Do we have resources for this?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, at this stage it's nominating me. And if it's approved, then I would like to be on that committee myself, so I would make my time available.
Councillor Davis, you're against?
Yes. I've actually served on council where comprehensive minutes were written. It took 2 staff at a council meeting to be able to put those minutes together, and they were always subjective because you could never capture the whole debate. You could never capture the nuances and what was important to each councillor. And Councillor Stewart's also sat on councils where you had comprehensive minutes. Today, in 2025, we use technology. It's called a webcast, and it is recorded and you can access it anytime. Actually, our actual archives go back a number of years where you can actually go back and look at a council meeting, I think back to 2018, maybe 2017. We provide the minimum standard for council minutes, and we watch our secretary every council meeting struggle with a very clunky, difficult system that we're required to use at this time. So to write comprehensive minutes would be just absolutely nearly impossible when we actually have it recorded. And it's recorded in its entirety. This motion is a waste of resources. It's a waste of time. It's not in line with 2025 standards of technology and availability to everybody in the community if they wish to watch our very lengthy council meetings. And they can actually make their own assumptions, but it captures the minutes, the written minutes, capture the most important pieces of information. What was the motion and who voted for it, and was it actually supported? And were there any amendments? And they are the most relevant pieces of information. So I think this motion is not current in today's world when we have so many other pieces of information that support our minutes, much more than ever has been.
Thank you. Councillor Williamson, you will fall.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I couldn't disagree more with Councillor Davis. And there's a couple of reasons why. Minutes are a defined term in the Act. Minutes are a thing in the Act. They have meaning under law. The video of our council meeting isn't. It doesn't have meaning under law. It might be used in a court of law, perhaps, but minutes are an instrument that flow from the Act through the regulations into the Code of Meeting Conduct, which is, of course, referenced in the legislation and has that effect. Therefore, they are records of what we do. Absolutely, we need to record the vote and the resolutions we make. But if I just look at the Model Code of Meeting Conduct, word minute appears 80 times in that document. I can guarantee you we are not complying with what we have to do in terms of accurate minutes consistently, and Mr. Kleiner pointed that out to us, where he actually raised inconsistencies in minutes that quite clearly are true. No one is suggesting here that we take comprehensive minutes, but the motion before us is not that we take comprehensive minutes, but that we form a committee to have a look at what we do with minute taking. Now, it might conclude that we should take minutes that are more comprehensive than what we do now. And wonderful. That would come back to the full council, I presume, for us to look at. So let's not put the horse before the cart before the horse here. We do have issues with minutes. I've certainly asked for things to be included in the minutes before, the material of the conversation we've had, to have them not put in the minutes. And sat in this meeting and had former general managers tell me they would be in the minutes and then not be put in the minutes. And they get told later that they don't need to go into the minutes. We have councillors who want to put documents on the record of the meeting and append those to the minutes, and that hasn't been done as well. I think there's room for us to improve. Mr. Kleiner certainly has pointed out instances where they're not accurate. They don't have to be verbatim. You know, we don't need a stenographer sitting here taking down what we do, but I think there's room to improve, and I, for one, would welcome having a fresh look at it, and I'd look forward to the committee coming back and telling us what they think. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone speaking against? Councillor Reid.
I will speak against this motion on the grounds that our minutes are perfectly satisfactory, and I compliment the staff for the good job they do. What we need the minute taker to do is to record the decisions, who took them, who voted for or against, and that's what is done. All the rest is just fluff and padding. The secondary benefit of our minutes, the way we do it now, is brevity. So we can get through them quickly and we can discover what the council decided. Now, consider the alternative councillors. Our famously lengthy and wordy meetings would go for 6 hours at a time. If there was a verbatim transcript there, it'd take 6 or 7 hours to read it. Or perhaps if you redacted all of the unparliamentary language and the points of order and the breaches of the code of meeting practice, well, we might get down to something like what we have now. Councillors, I suggest this is unnecessary. Our minutes are accurate, they're brief, they're satisfactory, they meet all the legal requirements. It's pointless changing them, so let's vote this motion down.
Thank you. Councillor Rose, would you like a right reply?
Thank you for it.
I understand that, but we've already had 2 and 2. No, sorry, Councillor. We had Councillor Rose for, Councillor David.
He put the motion.
And he spoke for it.
So he's a four,
Yes.
so he's one. I thought you had 2.
Yes, no, he's for the motion. Councillor Rose, right
I don't
reply.
think that's quite right.
Thanks, Mr. Mr. Mayor.
Sure, that's right.
I think point of order, I'd like to check the code of meeting practice and get advice. Sorry, Councillor Rose, and I don't think that's correct. You have the person that moves and speaks for the motion.
For the motion?
Yeah, as in they put, and then you have a person for and against,
No.
for and against.
No, you said, sorry, Councillor, you have someone that moves the motion and they're for the
Take me
motion.
to the act where that says it, please, because I don't think
We'll
you're
bring
right.
that to the act.
That's what
The act states that you speak, it's for, against, for and against. The move the motion is for the motion. They had a 3-minute time to speak for the motion.
And the code of meeting practice.
Code of meeting practice states that there's for, against, for and against. We also just passed a motion a little bit ago, what stated from Councillor Rose that we have 4 speakers, 2 for, 2 against. That is what we've done.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Let's get on with this. I think the arguments against my motion are just very poor arguments. I think the issue of I noticed that Councillor Davis said this was subjective and we had the webcast, but actually the webcast only required legally to keep them for 1 year. Webcasts also can be edited at will by the CEO. And so I think the situation in terms of the minimum standard, providing the minimum standard is not what we're about here. We're actually required under the Act, and this is a must. It just seems to me that some councillors just don't care that the Act under which we serve should be actually taken seriously. The council must ensure full and accurate. Now, Councillor Rooney is saying, well, they're accurate at what we have here, but they're certainly not full. What we're not asking is to actually do anything other than to have the CEO and 2 relevant councillors. Hopefully, Mr. Mayor, you might select me as one of those councillors because I'm a bloke that's very well versed in the Local Government Act, but that's up to you. Now, look, the situation is that this motion is only calling for a simple process that we're appointed to review the current meeting practices. The council must ensure full and accurate minutes are kept. There's no doubt that while they're accurate, they're not full. No one could even attempt to say, and Councillor Williamson's right, the definition of minutes is actually very prescribed, but a webcast is only a recent phenomenon, and it only has to be required for a year, and it can be edited. So the issue here is simply to actually ask that a subcommittee of councillors is formed, and that consists of the CEO and 2 councillors. This is not a big job. We can come back and report back to council. So there's no reason to vote against this meeting, this story, unless you're against the whole of the Local Government Act, under which case you should resign. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Point of order.
If that I put,
Point of order.
Oh.
And that is that we should have an orderly meeting and that attendees and councillors behave in a way that contributes to the orderly conduct of the meeting. And that last statement from Councillor Rose was anything but helpful.
He said we should resign if we're not going to vote.
sorry, what did you say? I was trying to.
I just said, if you're against the Local Government Act, then you may as well resign, because that's basically the story. We're required to be under the Act.
You say you should? Or?
No, what I said was that if you're against the Local Government Act, you may as well resign. I don't know the exact words. You can replay them later, but that was the intention. There's nothing terribly inflammatory about that.
Only a threat. Yeah. Sure.
There was no threat.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do have one question. Who are the 2 councillors? Because I can't pick those 2 councillors. Exactly right. So you want a report to come back to another council, or do you want to add 2 names here now? Sorry, I know this has already been put, but
You can't.
I know. I should have. Okay, so you're right. Sorry.
This goes through, a report comes to the council meeting, and council will select 2 councillors.
Okay, you're right, Councillor Stewart. All those in favour of the recommendation?
Could I move an amendment?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, been put. All those in favour? Councillor Stewart, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Rose, Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Thaler. All those against? Councillor Summers, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Rooney, Councillor Davis, Councillor Hannah. Thank you. Lost.
Procedural question before we go to the break.
Yes.
10.21 Code of Meeting Practice, limit on the number and duration of speeches. A councillor, other than the mover of an original motion, has the right to speak once on the motion and once on each amendment to it. How have we truncated that?
We have a motion.
We haven't.
Because you voted on a motion for 2 for and 2 against.
Yes.
Yeah,
For
but
today.
how
today.
How have we negated 10.21?
10.2.
A councillor, other than the mover, has the right to speak once.
You've overridden it by the motion that you all what we carried at this meeting.
That does.
Yes, right. A motion is over carries this. So we've got 2 and 2. Councillors, we're going to have a 10-minute break. So actually, let's be back at 4 o'clock. Bruce, can you pause? Bruce. It's not right. It is right. You've resolved.
We can't. So you're saying I can throw out a mandatory clause and there's not a mandatory?
That's the result.
It's a mandatory clause.